in my digital library many times, but I've never read it because it didn't sound very good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, in my hometown here, if you go in our local bookstores, it's like that and DiAngelo are the first. That's all you can see when you first walk
Oh,
in.
you should have seen how long it took me to actually get a copy. I think I had to wait 6 months.
Oh, wow.
I had to wait 6 months in line. Like I barely got a copy of this recently, and you know how long ago I reserved this was back during what? Who was it? Breonna Taylor or
I thought it was
one of
George
those?
Floyd.
Yeah.
Yeah, when one of those people got killed, and I was like, okay, I guess I should check this out now because everybody else is. And then I barely got it loaned like a couple weeks ago. That's how many
Okay.
people were waiting in line for this. And I think
Wow.
my library had like 40 or 50 copies, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think I told you I listened to it on YouTube because there happened to be a copy that someone put on there. But then after I listened to it, my library finally got the audiobook and the ebook, but I think they only got 1 or 2 copies, but there was no wait for it because I'm in Redneck Province and
You're in
people don't
Redneck
read
Province?
books here.
So you don't have to wait very long then.
No, usually not.
See, that's pretty lucky of you.
Yeah.
I gotta wait forever because we have lots of smart people here, I guess. Well, if you're around DC, they
Yeah,
have a
you
lot
have
of
like
fucking rich
you have
politician
like a
people
way
here.
bigger population too, right?
Yeah, in my city, well, my county. This is just my county. I think there's 2 million here,
Holy
if I'm not
shit, yeah.
mistaken. Yeah.
This I'm pretty sure the entire municipality of Wood Buffalo, which is like a collection of smaller communities right around Fort McMurray where I live. I'm pretty sure the entire population of all of those smaller communities right around Fort McMurray.
Okay.
Wow. I'm in an area that has about 500,000. So.
Oh, okay.
All right. So let me post this stream up on Facebook here. And Shizan's asking what we're streaming on. We're streaming on Woke Centrist channel.
Yes.
I guess he's confused because I posted the link there.
Yeah. I don't even know whether he's read the book or not. Oh, looks like we're streaming.
Yeah, we're streaming. Sorry I didn't tell you guys.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't you give a bit of an introduction since it's your channel, Dusty?
Yes, of course. So, welcome to the Woke Book Club. I know woke sounds very intimidating, but it's not the woke you're thinking about. You can't call yourself the woke centrist and be super far left. That just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to talk about white fragility, and I believe it also has some convoluted subtitle that I didn't take note of. The book is by Robin.
Oh, I'm gonna look that up right now. I'm pretty sure it's like why white people find it uncomfortable to talk about race or something like that.
I think that's it. To be honest, I think that is the actual subtitle.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let me post this to Facebook so people can find it. Let me put it on the MMA page.
Oh yeah,
this logistical stuff now.
Yeah, the subtitle is why it's so hard for white people to talk about racism. Yeah.
Co-authored by Richard Spencer, isn't it?
Yeah,
He's a secret secondary author.
the secret series. Yeah, this book obviously wasn't written for me. I think, well, one thing that I do appreciate that she definitely provides for you in the beginning, that this is an ideological book first and foremost, and it is geared
Obviously.
towards white progressives. She doesn't hide that at all.
Mhm.
I am not a white progressive, so this book isn't
No way.
for me, but it's definitely about me, because the only race she seems obsessed about talking about is black people, as if
Yeah.
no other minorities exist.
Yep. Did you know
Um,
that it's offensive to you for white people to say some things that we have said to you, probably?
I have no idea. I do know that as soon as she used the word Latinx, I found that quite offensive. Because I can mark that checkbox, so I can actually have an opinion on that.
Yeah.
No normal Hispanic people uses that X at the end of anything. It's a total
Yeah.
ridiculous left wing thing. Like
I've never heard any Latino or Latina person say Latinx.
if I asked anybody in my Puerto Rican half of the family, they'd just scoff at me and think I was an idiot. It's not a thing. It's really not a thing in any Spanish speaking culture.
No.
As
I think
the
there's a
Puerto
reason
Rican-
you haven't heard of it until 2020.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. But yeah, there were a lot of things I thought were completely
Problematic.
ridiculous about this book. I don't want to use that word, problematic, because I don't want to sound like some super left wing person. I don't know. Maybe I need to get the digital copy of this and do a search for that word. I'm pretty sure it comes
Oh, I
up
bet it's in there a lot.
multiple times. But well, I'll just start it off. It is so full of anecdotal evidence. I know that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And while she does cite statistics, she has a very certain view about why those things are happening, and doesn't really tell you about the multitude of different things that could contribute to the statistics that she cites regarding racial disparities. I know you guys have probably listened to, or at least read up on, a lot of people who've talked about this in more
Yeah.
nuanced manners, where they actually try to chalk up all like the many various different reasons why these disparities exist.
Yeah.
This book solely talks about racism and basically nothing else.
Yeah, as if racism is the cause for all racial disparities and no other factors. And yeah, you mentioned before we started, Chris, Glenn Lowry and John McWhorter, who talk about this a lot, and they've talked about white fragility and also how to be an anti-racist, and how like this is like they don't like, especially to Glenn Lowry, he doesn't consider people like Robin DiAngelo and Ibram X. Kennedy, who wrote How to Be an Anti-Racist, to even actually be real intellectuals. They're just ideologues.
Yeah. It's funny that she's a white woman too. I think.
Yeah.
Well, the funniest part about it is, oh man, I know this is probably Andrew's favorite part, so I'm gonna let Andrew talk about it, about the crying.
Oh yeah. I'll tell you about my two favorite parts actually. One of my favorite parts is that one when I think she was doing some like racial bias training or some shit like that, and she had there was a white woman there who was crying about how racist I forget what exactly the context was, but she was crying about how racist some white people in her life were, and then that Robin DiAngelo had to pull her aside and say, it's impolite for white people to cry in front of black people because when black people see white people's tears, that's racist.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And she makes a living. That's what she does for a living. Is she goes around from corporations. Actually, I think they pay her or up to $100,000 per visit to teach their employees about how to be anti-racist. It's crazy to me that such crazy ideas are allowed to, like, I get why corporations kind of sign up. I feel like a lot of them are just kind of like, you know, hey, we've done this. We've taught our employees to be anti-racist. We've done the woke thing. We've checked that box. Now you know what I mean? If there was any kind of like shame towards that particular company, you could say, well, you know, at least we've put our employees through racist or diversity training or whatever. Sorry, I totally screwed up the word.
Training?
Yeah, that's right. Sorry. Had a word soup there. But
yeah, it's so crazy. Like, this book does absolutely nothing to fix those disparities.
Yeah.
The only thing it does is it wants like corporate white people who work in the corporate world to feel guilt, but it doesn't actually tell them what policies they need to support or anything of that nature at all.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, white people, you are racist.
This book should be called, Hey, White People, Don't You Feel Racist?
Like I said, it does nothing. Like, I can't say that I didn't learn anything from it, because there were a couple things that were quite interesting. It's just that they're just used in such a bad way. Like, for specifically, all of the redefinition of terms just does not help at all with their arguments. Especially like the woke definition for racism. I do not support that definition. If anyone knows what we're talking about, it's the whole power plus prejudice. So what she says is, only people who have power can be racist, which means black people can't be racist, which is in itself racist, because she believes in no form or function do black people have any power. Which is ridiculous, because you can go into black localities and they will have black representatives and black mayors and black chiefs of police who are heading up those institutions in the locality. And to be honest, the locality is what's going to affect your life the most. It's not these dumbasses in Washington that are like voting for stuff that really doesn't affect you that much.
Yeah, totally. And where she gets into her definition of racism is one of the many places where she starts to get all religious. Like, it sounds like she's talking about what the Matrix is when she's describing racism. It's like a metaphysical belief in racism. Racism is all around us. It's always watching you and controlling you. You have no power over the racism. It's making you do these racist things, bro.
Yeah, and another thing is, I do see that. She doesn't do a very good job at explaining the pervasiveness of racism, other than pointing to these disparities, which, like we said again, have multifactorial reasons for being that way. It's not racism. It's perhaps a little bit of racism, a little bit of this, and a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. But telling people, it's just racism, and racism's going to fix everything, like if we eliminate it. And I think that's actually the stupidest thing anybody can do, because you're not going to eliminate racism, just like you're not going to eliminate tribalism. It's a fundamental part of human psychology, and racism is just a subset of tribalism. It's not going to go away.
This is another way that it like this sort of ideology gets religious too. It's like trying to end racism as a replacement for enlightenment, because they, like, people who have these sorts of beliefs, they think we need to eradicate racism, but also sort of acknowledge that this is a never-ending fight and we can never defeat racism, but we're also going to defeat it. So it's like the goal of enlightenment. It's this thing of perfection that you can never actually achieve, but it's worth striving toward.
Yeah, and another big thing, because I know she likes to point out the disparities and saying, hey, black people aren't in these spaces, blah, 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 blah. And then she also talks about, oh yeah, like the top 8 billionaires live in the United States, yada, yada, yada. And I'm thinking, all right, she's basing these metrics on what white people and American white people value.
Yeah.
How do you know these same metrics are important in the black community? It might not be at all. Like, I don't think the average black person gives a shit about being a CEO of a company, and I don't think the average white person does either. But she uses these as like the top metrics of success, and you have to think all of the top metrics of success that she points out have to do with making a shitload of money or being the head of a company. Which is fucking terrible if you
That's
think
a really
that
good
is
point. Yeah.
if that is the peak of what you expect someone to be. Like, I don't know. I think it's just a twisted way to think. And I
I don't
would,
even think it's like factually correct, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't it like Korean or Indian people that lead the way in as like money per capita per year now or something? It's no longer white people anymore.
well, she wasn't saying money per capita. Like
Or
the metric
CEOs,
she was
sorry.
using, yeah, the metric she was using was like the richest, not the volume. She was using who are the richest CEOs and where do they live, and they're like white dudes in America. And I think one of them is a woman because she inherited some money from her dead husband or something like that. But
Jeff Bezos.
that's the problem.
X.
Yeah, of course Bezos is in there, but I'm saying these are the metrics in which they look to what is success, and I think those are just horrible fucking American-centric metrics.
Yeah, they
Like,
are.
I don't think people who live in like Sweden like push so hard that, oh, to be the best you have to be a fucking CEO worth $1 billion. I think that's just a really shitty value system. And that was something that pissed me off when she's saying, oh, black people, there's this disparity and we don't have black CEOs and blah, 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 blah. It's like, how do you know they want to be black CEOs? Like, gives a fuck about that shit. That's like the shit that you American white people care about.
There is far too much inequality among upper-class rich people in America. We need more black rich people.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the metric of success is what really pisses me off, because who gives a shit? After, I think, like happiness statistics, after a family's earning more than 80K a year, you don't really see any huge like increases in happiness. It becomes a diminishing return.
Yeah, there's a grace period, isn't there? Like somebody did I forget where I heard this, but it was like if you make, I think it's over $750,000 a year, over $1 million, you actually become more depressed because you make more money. There's like a happy medium of how much you could make that makes you actually at ultimate happiness. You know what I mean? Obviously, too less of money is not good, and too much money is not good either.
Yeah, there's kind of like a happy middle, and the funny thing is the happy middle is so close to the bottom. Then, you know, oh, you got to be a billionaire CEO to be happy. I was like, I'd be fucking miserable, man.
It seems like a lot of billionaire CEOs are like workaholics who are miserable and stressed out all the time.
Yeah, because the only millionaire I could think of, and that would, Well, even Joe Rogan's a fucking almost a stressaholic in a way, because he's super focused at his shit, and people generally, when I've heard when they meet him, that he's somewhat intense because of that ethic. And sometimes I don't want to care so much about the shit I got to do, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Rogan, he's got like 100 things on the go. UFC commentator, as well as podcast host, as well as father, as well as,
Goes on long hunting trips.
into weightlifting, into float tanks, so.
But yeah, so I thought the metric that they're using is poor. And one of the reasons that kind of enlightened me about that is renegade history. You don't have to be a fucking rich person to enjoy life.
Yeah.
And I did notice that, so that was one of the big things that I really didn't like, was that she's pushing this message in the corporate world. Let's make all these black people more corporate and like white people.
Yeah.
Just like, come on, like let them be themselves.
Yeah, that's a bit like what you mentioned there about Thaddeus Russell's A Renegade History of the United States. I was thinking about that throughout the book too. Like she keeps promoting this mindset. Black people, you should be more like white people, shouldn't you? Shouldn't you care so much about what white people think about you?
Exactly. And going back to that whole white women can't cry.
Yeah.
Like, she had an extremely convoluted reason why they couldn't, and it had to do with, back when lynchings were normal, white women would go crying to their white men, and then they would go that they've been raped or whatever, and then they'd go lynch the black people. Because whenever a white woman cries, everyone comes to her aid. And usually when I see like white people getting caught up in racism and crying, it just makes me laugh. I don't know. I've seen it happen where they got caught being racist and they start crying because they basically have found out that they're on camera and that their life is going to get ruined.
Guilty as charged.
And usually the ones that cry are like, quote unquote, the woke ones that get caught being racist. Because if a racist gets caught being racist, they don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
But it's the only ones that have something to lose, like they're going to lose all their woke cred because they were caught being racist on camera. But yeah, that thing, when she said that, about white women can't cry in front of black people, I was like, what are black people fucking children? Like, we can't handle a stupid white person crying for being stupid? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, I don't know what to say. That's another thing. I just thought in general, like her whole shtick is to have white people behave in a way because black people can't handle shit. And that bothers me. Because I'd rather have people act like their natural selves than pull up this woke facade and these rule sets that they have to run through because they're ideologically tied to a specific, like, I guess, mindset. Like, just be your fucking self. I don't need you to have all these eggshells that you have to walk around because I'm a black person. It just seems so stupid. And it just enforces that, black people can't handle shit. Let's just let's tone down our whiteness over here. It's like, fucking hell, man.
I mean, doesn't it seem kind of racist to like and to like treat black people like their children, as you said?
Well, they're definitely not. if a white woman cannot cry in front of a black person, they're definitely not treating us as equals.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And they're definitely being enacting like a racist thing because it's okay if you cry in front of white people, but if you can't cry in front of black people, that's offensive. And
Yeah,
this
they
was
can't
based
handle
off of an anecdote that DiAngelo heard from some black woman who said, I don't need white people's tears. So she heard a black woman say this. So she's like, white women, we can't cry in front of black people because it's racist. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me of another one of my favorite parts of the book was when she was oh yeah, it was later on. She was saying that oh shit, I forgot what it was. It was another similar point like that. Oh yeah. It was this woman was asking her, how do I bring it up if my white friends are being racist? How do I bring it up to them? And then she basically responds by saying, well, you're racist. You're racist for thinking that you're not racist by asking me this question.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Like here, I have I think everyone's racist to a certain degree, maybe 1% or 99%. I don't think anybody can escape stereotypical thoughts of one or another. But it's funny because there's a whole section of her book that talks about
that we judge people based on their appearances, and people like in general we tend to like even subconsciously gravitate towards people with the same skin color or same appearance.
Yeah, because I think if you ever read that one book by what's his name, Malcolm
Gladwell, yeah.
He really does do a good job at going over these subconscious reactions we have to race.
Yeah, I think that's Blink, right?
Yeah, there you go, Blink. Like how quickly we rationalize and things of that nature. And he talks about it. The guy's black. He takes a real nuanced way of explaining how these things are. But you just get into this stuff and
no nuance.
Like there's a whole chapter where she criticizes like the binary nature of how things are, yet she's being just that.
Yeah.
Like, because if all white people are racist, that is a binary statement.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really talk at all about degrees of racism. It's just you are racist or not. There's no nuance in that black people can't be racist.
Yep. Yeah, that's a whole interesting and infuriating aspect of the book too.
So, oh man, I just would not recommend this type of mindset. It's just, I think it further plants a divide between race to have to think of everything in terms of race, and that's what she promotes.
Yep.
To think of everything in terms of race. I don't think that actually solves the problem that she's looking to solve.
Yep.
It just kind of perpetuates it.
Do you guys think if George Floyd never have happened, that this book wouldn't have rose to as high of prominence that it did?
I don't think so. Like,
because I think the timing is like it became number one it was a number one book after that incident, and I think you had a lot of white liberals that were feeling guilty at the time, And for some reason, this book just kind of, rose to the top. I wonder if it's. Yeah.
And isn't that like a resurgence? Didn't it come out years ago?
Well, it came out in 2018.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah, it's not that old. It's only a couple years old.
Okay.
But she was like the go-to person to, get if you worked at like Apple or Google to come in and talk to your employees about anti-racism. So,
well, technically, I guess she's a diversity trainer, but the only thing she really teaches is that white people are racist. Like, does she
from a white person's perspective.
Yeah, I don't. Is she actually teaching diversity? Like, I've sat in on my wife's school's diversity training, and it looks nothing like this book. This book is garbage. I do wonder what would happen if something like this got injected into my wife's diversity training, because the ones that my wife had to do was just like, oh, all of you have different experiences. Share your different experiences and how those identities impact them.
That seems common sense.
Yeah, and I've done some with my job at Amazon. Basically, like common sense things, like don't misgender someone on the phone, or else they're going to get really pissed off. Like, it's common sense. You don't want to do that. So it's just things like that. And I'm looking at this. It's like, wow. And it's funny, too, because there's so many examples in the book where she pisses people off. And really, if she's pissing people off, if she is basically cutting herself off through her delivery, it shows me that it's not that effective of a message. Like, the only message she's actually preaching to the choir, like, she's not converting anybody from what I can think of.
Of course.
And it seems like any challenge to her, and it seems throughout the book she gets challenged by people who are attending these trainings or whatever. Her blanket response is that, oh, you're showing your racism by questioning this, or it's like, Jesus Christ, that's like cult mentality right there, that you can't question the orthodoxy at all. And I know someone brought up like some real and interesting like counter arguments, because you see here that she just goes on and on about black people. And then one person brought up, well, what about Native Americans? They were treated much worse than African Americans. And I agree with that sentiment that they were. And she just kind of blows that person off as having white fragility, which white fragility just seems to be her definition of white people pushing back against her training or narrative.
Basically. Not accepting her ideology. Yeah.
And then the whole white supremacy thing is just, it's like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, and the whole white supremacy thing, she also uses that same success metric that we're talking about, where, billionaires and heads of CEOs and blah, 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 blah. It's like, not everybody sees that as a goal in life. To be...
Oh, by the way, in relation to that, McEldoon commented in the live chat and said, being CEO is the only measuring stick by which you gauge the success of your life. If you're not getting paid billions of dollars, you might as well not go to work.
And the funny thing is, it's like, I can't think of any examples where she doesn't use like a CEO. The other example she gives is maybe like, politicians. Not everybody wants to be a fucking politician. I think most people don't want to be politicians. A lot of people don't want to be CEOs either. Like, the vast majority of people are not CEOs. If everyone wanted to be a CEO, they could. All you have to do is get an LLC and start some shitty company. It's not that difficult. I've been a CEO before for like a year, and I had one employee that I didn't pay. So it's not that hard to be a fucking CEO.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, nobody sits on their deathbed and goes, "Thank God I was a CEO for 10 years. Thank God I worked so many hours and I neglected my family and friends." And you know, what I mean?
Exactly. Like
money isn't the only factor of to measure happiness.
Like my parents have told me, because like I've told you guys, they used to be ministers. Like when they, with their experience from seeing people on their deathbeds, they would say what I'm sure you guys expect, which is that the biggest regrets that people have is they don't relax enough and they don't spend enough time with their family.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've not taken up jobs because of that. Like if I knew I was going to have to be away more, I just said, oh, no, can't do that, you know. One of the biggest reasons I work for Amazon right now is because I get to stay at home. You know, so 50% of my work output is from home. And the only time I have to work away from home is on the weekends. I know it sucks because they're the weekends, but, you know, living in COVID times, you're not going to do much on the weekends anyway.
Yeah. My wife works from home now because of COVID and she loves it. So it's yeah, you feel, you're, especially if you have kids, it's just easier. And yeah,
so I don't know. So because this is a book more about educating you guys. It's, like I said, this does not really apply to me whatsoever. It pisses me off because she makes so many like generalizations about black people, same as Candace Owens, that is, I don't know, it's basically not letting people live the lives that they want to live. And people who preach that bother me, you know. Candace Owens, this lady.
She's like, Robin DiAngelo is like maybe 10% more of an intellectual than Candace Owens at the most. Neither of them I would classify neither of them as intellectuals.
No, I would say DiAngelo I get what she's trying to do. She's just extremely misguided. And the funny thing is, here's another extreme hypocrisy that I found quite hilarious in this book. I don't even know if she caught this herself. And I know they were talking about using like kind of dog whistling type of words to describe black neighborhoods, right? That they would avoid using or calling out the race of the residents. Do you remember that, Andrew? Uh-oh.
I'm not sure that I remember exactly what you're referring to.
Okay, so there was this part in the book, right? Where she was talking to like colleagues or something, or a friend, and this is funny too because it's so applicable to my wife. So she was talking to a teacher or something like that, and the teacher was moving to another district, and her coworkers asked her where she was living, and they were like, "Oh, you can't live in that neighborhood. It's a rough neighborhood, you know." But DiAngelo's like, "Oh, they were coding it because what they really meant is that it's a black neighborhood." I was like, okay, this is fucking ridiculous because when my wife first moved here, she's black. She worked at a school that was not in the best of neighborhoods. and she rented an apartment nearby, and she talked to one of the teachers, and teacher said, oh, where do you live? The other teacher said, oh, you shouldn't really live there. That's not the greatest of places. And she's telling this to a black person. It's not like, it's a universal thing. White people are going to say not to live in a dangerous area, so are black people, and they're going to tell a white person or a black person. It doesn't matter what your skin tone is.
Yeah, that's true.
Another thing that I thought was highly hypocritical and hilarious is she kept talking about gentrification, and that, oh, when people find out that the neighborhood is becoming black, they tend to move out and, enable white flight. I know there's a couple times in the book where she says that she comes from a poor background. And here's where I laughed really hard. During a point of the book, she says, oh, I had to move out to a nicer area. It's like, why the fuck did you have to do that?
Yeah, that's racist.
Like, you mean you lived in a black area and you moved to a white area? Is that what you're talking about? Like, she's using the same shit. And if she wants to improve the lives of black people, why did she move out? Why didn't she just stay in the community and try to improve the lives of black people? She's not going to improve the lives of black people by living in a majority white suburb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And black people want to move out of those neighborhoods too.
Yeah, I don't want to live there. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to live in those neighborhoods. And to be honest, I have never really lived in those types of neighborhoods in my whole life, even though I did grow up poor. I just didn't live in a ghetto.
You must not really be black then.
Whatever. Whatever the hell that means. I lived in it was a mixed neighborhood of mostly Hispanic people, but, I could walk around at night and not have to worry about gunshots or anything. I did know some of my friends who were actually Hispanic. They grew up in places like Compton, and they would say, yeah, you would hear gunshots. You had to be really wary about where you're walking, and you had to have extreme situational awareness. If you saw the wrong people, you got to make sure to either walk the opposite way or get as far away as you can. So it's not and they were Hispanic, so she makes it think oh, all the neighborhoods with crime, oh, it's black people. It's Jesus, it's just so maddening how she creates this narrative that the narrative she creates, she enforces it herself by moving out of her poor neighborhood and going and living in a nice white neighborhood. I'm pretty sure she doesn't live in a black neighborhood. I'm 99% sure.
No, she's a millionaire now.
Yeah.
And did you guys did you see her interview on Jimmy Fallon?
She got interviewed on Jimmy Fallon?
Well, she basically, yeah. Check out the video. It's actually the funniest thing about the video is the down votes versus up votes on the on the thumbs up and thumbs down. I literally think it's 14,000 versus 2 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, she basically taught Jimmy Fallon how to be an anti-racist and went through that. And the poor guy, look on his face was I don't know. You could tell that he totally the corporation. What is it? NBC that he works for.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, one of those guys, they obviously coaxed him in or said, you should do this. And it was right around the time, a few months after George Floyd. So, but yeah, anyway, it's a funny, I don't know. It's kind of a funny video, but it's not a funny video. It's kind of like torture at the same time too, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Torture. I'll have to check that out. Actually, it sounds entertaining.
Yeah, because he's at home. It was during COVID, so it's over video. But she's yeah, it's She basically tells him, how he can, as a white man, is racist and how he should be apologetic for being white. Yeah.
If you Google white fragility, most of the articles that come up are poking holes in the entire theory.
Well, I don't know. Like, remember when we discussed Google will show you what you're looking for?
Yeah, that's true.
That's the biggest problem.
That's true.
with saying, oh, even Google is like, oh, that might be for you, if like a super woke person.
Yeah, I bet
Googled it.
I bet for like my super woke family members, it would say why everyone should be anti-racist.
Yeah, exactly. So it might be a little bit more difficult to get to the bottom of that, but the wokeness, it's just on another level. There are some just huge problems in the book, and like I said, a lot of it has to do with warping vocabulary. Like, to most people, a white supremacist is exactly what you would think a white supremacist is.
Uh-huh.
And she totally broadens the category so that a white supremacist means nothing. You know what I mean? Like, white supremacy is basically everything. That's like, okay. I think one of the main reasons this message won't get across is because she uses all of these terms that most people find offensive and broadens them to a degree that includes almost everybody within that category. And we're talking about racism. Well, I kind of share her view, but mine is a bit nuanced, that everybody's a racist. She just says that only white people are, whatever. And
you
then
you don't mean like racism in the way that anywhere near the way that she does. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that you mean more that, like, people distinguish based on your skin color rather than like everyone is evil and is like white supremacist and wants black people to be.
The problem with the term racist is it's completely subjective.
Yeah.
There's no scientific determination that gives us, what threshold do you have to cross to become a racist? That shit doesn't exist. So it's completely subjective. And if you're thinking about, okay, racism is believing some race is superior than others, I think everybody thinks, will at least have some type of inkling of that within them. I think most people are going to say, yeah, black people are better at basketball. It's racist to say that. Does that mean it's bad? I don't know. Black people have big dicks. Asians have small dicks. Like, these are racist sayings that a lot of people will believe in, or at least they're thinking it. And if I heard someone say black people in general have big dicks, am I gonna call them a racist? I wouldn't call them a racist, because in our society, calling somebody a racist it used to be pretty big. I don't know if it's pretty big now, because people kind of toss it out like candy, but it's used as a very negative category. Like, if you're a racist, ooh, that person's super bad. It's like, oh, they're almost Hitler. My definition of calling someone racist is not that they're almost Hitler. It's anywhere from Hitler to Gandhi, even though Gandhi was a legitimate racist. But so you know what I mean. Like, there's no racism threshold that can be passed and you are deemed a racist now. I just believe that everybody has some type of racism in their thoughts, whether it's like 0.1% or 99%.
It's kind of like Robin DiAngelo thinks that like all white people are like one of my friend's moms who is like really racist in a bad way. Like she's said to me things before like black people are taking all our jobs or Muslims are
Derb.
well
Should have told her Dirker Derb.
Yeah.
Usually, if I ever see like, online, whenever I see that argument, I just basically find a Dirker Derb GIF and post it, and then everyone starts laughing. Hey,
Yeah.
Dirker Derb, Dirker Derb. Well, yeah. I guess we are similar, but we also are very different. Because I think her version of racism is completely whack. That only white people can be racist. Come on, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, I've been racist. I've said some racist shit to somebody when I was a kid and I didn't know better.
Right.
Just to hurt somebody. You know, it wasn't that I was legitimately like thought all of a specific race were bad, but I would do it to hurt their feelings or whatever. But I'm never thinking like in the back of my mind, damn, these Indians, they always smell like curry and blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't fucking think like that. I'm sure some people do.
Yeah.
But anyway, like even if you have a racial preference in dating, that's racist.
Yeah.
True.
And it's okay to say, hey, I prefer blah, blah, blah. You're making a discrimination. Time you make a choice between one or the other, you're discriminating in some form or fashion.
It's probably considered racist that I've only dated. No, wait, no. I was gonna say I've only dated white chicks, but I have dated like one or two black chicks and one or two native chicks. But it's probably still racist that it's been mostly white chicks.
I wonder if I would be considered racist because I had not dated any black chicks until I was like 39.
Oh, really?
I'm sorry, 29. Like, my wife is the only black chick that I've ever dated or been married to.
Oh, okay. Were the rest of them like? What were the rest of them?
Like white and Hispanic.
Okay. I
Like,
like some
if I were
spicy
tallying them
Latina
up,
chicks.
most of them were white. but I don't know if that would be racist or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're racist against your own race.
Yeah, it's stupid. Like, it's not like, oh, I won't date a black chick. It's just, hey, that girl looks hot. I'll talk to her, whatever.
Yeah, I have the same. I have the same thought. Oh, she's hot, and then and I
Naomi
know
Campbell's hot.
What?
Naomi Campbell is a smoke show.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Or she was. Well, yeah, she's still a good looking girl.
You know, like I like Kim Kardashian and Nicki Minaj. I like
Yeah.
those.
And though I wouldn't be able to stand Cardi B personality-wise, I think she's pretty hot.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
And I think she's mixed. As if you ever see Cardi B without her hair done, she has like a black person's hair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna say something controversial here. I think Candace Owens is kind of hot too.
I think she is too, man. I think she is too.
I think she's okay. I don't think she's hot. I think she's probably like a 7, maybe.
Yeah. No, she's cute for sure.
Yeah, I think she's cute. I love some Latina chicks sometimes too, because they got great curves, like Nicki Minaj curves and Cardi B curves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Have you guys ever seen? There was an interview or a podcast with Hotep Jesus and what's that guy's name? Guy who
Uncle
does
Hotep?
no, he does the cartoon, the Dilbert cartoons. He's a white
Oh,
old.
Scott
Oh,
Adams.
Yeah,
Scott
Scott
Adams.
Adams and
Oh, I don't think I saw that one. I do follow Hotep Jesus's Hotep's Been Told You with him and Uncle Hotep though, because Drew Sample told me about it.
yeah.
Well,
I,
Scott
I
Adams is like a Trump sycophant, though.
Yeah.
yeah.
He's like, Trump can do no wrong, and he's always playing 4D chess on
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah,
It's like, fuck,
Scott
man.
Adams is funny that way.
Yeah. No,
Like, I remember when he debated with Sam Harris, and I was just like, yeah, it just seems that Scott Adams is basically promoting sophistry as an actual thing
Yeah.
that should be good,
I
which
think
I don't think it is at all.
I think I listened to that debate too, and I thought I seem to remember it being like simultaneously entertaining and frustrating because, like you said, Scott Adams is a sycophantic Trump supporter, and Sam Harris is like the totally opposite. He's got like Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, he definitely has some TDS. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I don't think he's ever said a good thing about Trump that
Yeah.
I could think of.
yeah,
So it's
Yeah,
like
anyway-
the opposites going at each other. Yeah.
Yeah. On the podcast though, they were talking about racism, and I forget who said it, but anyway, they pretty much said that human beings, we're pattern recognition whores, pretty much, right? We see patterns and everything like that. The problem is that we're just really bad at it. So when it comes to things like stereotyping and all that kind of stuff, we're just, everybody does it. You see an old lady behind the wheel and you automatically think they're going to be a bad driver or whatever. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, anyway, that always kind of stuck with me. And I wonder what you guys thought of like us just as human beings being bad pattern recognition people.
Well,
that sounds
if
true.
you're gonna use the old person behind the wheel example, it's kind of, there's probably science behind that.
Or like any one of the other ones you guys brought up, like Asians being good at numbers or black people with big dicks, any of those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I've watched so many Asian porns, and they don't stack up to the black people.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you spend 10 minutes on Pornhub, you know the stereotype, right? So
There's a whole genre of porn of black guys fucking white chicks because they got huge dicks.
yeah, man.
And then there's like, oh, Asian women, they're always hairy. It's like, well, that's like their culture. I don't think they care about shaving their snatch too much. That's just the way they roll.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway,
But DiAngelo, I was like on the verge of giving it 2 stars because
Really?
there's like,
really,
yeah, I was on the verge because
it's got 4.5
some
stars on Goodreads.
Holy fuck, man! I gave it 1.
I gave it 1 too, but I found that one, the focus was on woke white people, which was like, okay, this is the bullshit that you're feeding woke white people, and it's kind of right up their alley, so to speak. Like, even the terms that she uses, it's like, oh, prejudice plus power. It's like, yeah, I know where this is leading. Like, I think the first chapter I was kind of on board until she started getting into like her definition of racism, and then I was like, okay, it's gonna go downhill all from here. But as far as like, what was I thinking? Like, there's like some genuine things in there that are like correct, but so much of it is bad that it couldn't redeem itself and get back to a 2-star.
Yeah, I think
So-
that reminds me too. I think the only, or at least one of the only parts that I liked about it was that I agree with her that race is a social construct, but
Yes.
in the sense that like society creates these words, and then you put race into this scientific category, basically.
Yeah, like she was totally like good on that, and that's kind of what I meant. Like there were some things that I totally agreed with, such as that race is a social construct, and she went back into history and who were considered white at what time. That's pretty factual. Like,
and you mentioned Renegade History of the United States that we talked about relatively recently, right? And how like for example, Irish people used to be literally referred to by the N-word, and other types of people who are considered white now too.
Yeah, so that white designation is basically like a made-up category. So yeah, that's totally true. And some people have moved into that category and been outside of that category at certain points in time. Like I don't know if Middle Easterners are still considered white. I know they were kind of debating that, but yeah, I had to drop it down. I'll say this. I do think that Blackout is a worse book, in my opinion. I don't know what you think.
I gave both of them 1 stars, but I would say that I would agree that Blackout is slightly worse. Like that one made me more of a mixture of I had more of a mixture of being mad and laughing hysterically at that one than at this one.
Yeah, my eyes rolled so much more harder at Candace's book. I think it's because I wasn't prepared for her arguments. Like, I was prepared for Miss Woke Lady's arguments because those are ones I've heard before and I've heard them often. But Candace's were so new and bad that I just could not believe it. I can actually believe DiAngelo's arguments. I couldn't believe Candace's. I just don't know where she got some of her reasoning from. It's like, man, this just doesn't make sense at all, Candace. Sorry.
Yeah.
But DiAngelo's, like, I've heard so many of these arguments so many times, they're just kind of repetitive.
Yeah. And there's no more substance to them than you would expect.
Yeah, they're both bad books. But I would say that if I would have to choose one over the other, it's hard to say.
And I'm not looking to reread either of them again.
Yeah. Yeah, they're both bad. I think since Trump has lost, it's made Candace's book more laughable.
Right.
Because it's basically a plead for the final... You know what? I'm sorry. Candace's book is way more cringy. I'm sorry. There's the Bible quotes.
I only think it's slightly more cringy. I just think they're cringy in opposite directions.
Yeah, I guess so. But I guess I'm just like not into the Bible quotes, man. Like, I wish you were there, Chris, last week, because here, let's do a little bit of a discussion on that, because I want to get your input, because I know you read it and you actually gave it 3 stars.
Which? Oh yeah, you gave Blackout 3 stars. You said, right?
Yeah, no, I don't give. I'm very generous with all my ratings. So like 3 stars for me is kind of like meh, which I thought the book was meh. I thought she made some decent points. I didn't really know much of her beginning in her woke story when those people called her the N-word or something like that. That were so that part I found interesting. The parts that I didn't find interesting were I'm well aware of Larry Elder's work. I've seen Uncle Tom. I've seen a few clips of his. So I felt it was a lot of the same kind of stuff that he kind of, spouts as gospel. The black fathers not being present and
I think he occasionally makes some really good points, though. I like him a lot more than I like her, even though I probably disagree with a lot of, or perhaps the majority of his arguments too.
Well, I think just someone like Coleman Hughes has better explanation for those types of arguments.
Yeah, and I would definitely agree with that. And Glenn Lowry and John McWhorter, all those guys definitely make a way better case than she does.
Because I don't think any of those guys would just simply say, "Oh, black fathers." They know that there's more to it than just that.
Yeah.
It's not just, "Oh, there's no black fathers in the family." It's like, okay, well, they try to examine why, and it's not because of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. It's because of a bunch of shit that's happened.
Yeah. And they understand that correlation does not equal causation, and that, like, you know, the way that humans' behavior is shaped is multifactorial. It's not based on a single factor, as basically both books that we're talking about get into. Like,
and the funny thing, like,
Candace's book, the only problem is the Democrats, and then Robin DiAngelo's book, the only problem is racist white people.
Well, the problem, like in Candace's book, could you name a single policy that she said that would fix anything?
No, not at all.
Neither did Robin DiAngelo.
That's what I'm trying to say, you know.
Yeah,
and that goes back to I don't really see these as her kind of points that she's researched. She's basically just grabbing the low hanging fruit that other kind of black conservatives have put forward before. I didn't know much of her history before. I thought she was just some rich kid from Connecticut that kind of rose to prominence. I don't even know how, but I think she handled that incident, that kind of woke incident, fairly well. And I know this is kind of controversial too, but when she got made fun of with Dave Chappelle, and I think she kind of handled that well.
Oh yeah, when he made fun of her smelly pussy.
Yeah, and I don't agree with the Blexit thing. I think that's kind of silly, but at the same time, if you're bringing black people a different perspective and you're having them choose for themselves and not just, a lot of instead of just saying you have to vote Democrat all the time. I think regardless of skin color, everybody's human being, and you should be able to have a choice for yourself and not be put into a bubble. So I don't agree with everything that Candace brings to the table, but there's some things that I think she's trying to do in a positive way. She's just tripping a lot along the way.
Yeah, maybe she'll mature, maybe she won't. We'll have to see about it.
That's a lot to hope for, man.
Yeah,
usually she's old enough where she should have. Like, if you think about like someone like Coleman Hughes or like Lowry and McWhorter, like Coleman Hughes is young, right?
Yeah. He's younger than me, and he's way wiser than Candace Owens.
Yeah.
And he reads the same material from what it sounds like. They read the same statistics and they talk about the same statistics.
Yeah.
But
they just vote for different people.
Well, I have no idea who Coleman Hughes votes for, because one thing is Coleman Hughes is not a political ideologue.
Yeah.
He's not pushing people to vote for anybody.
He said in one of his recent podcasts that he voted for Biden.
That's right. Yeah, he did. Okay. Which I wouldn't judge anybody on who they voted for anyway. But I like Coleman.
Well, he did it.
I like Coleman a lot better than Candace. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think he voted for Biden for like pretty much the same kind of reason as you did, Dusty. That he thinks like Trump is bad enough that even Biden would be better.
Yeah, it's just Biden is like meh, like completely meh for me. But just the shit now with what he's inciting about the whole election fraud shit. And he's entertained conspiracy theories his entire presidency. He's appeared on Alex Jones when he was a candidate. Like, I'm not into the whole Russiagate bullshit. You know my stance on that. But I think the people that have put me over the line on Trump were Dan Carlin and Kyle Kalinske. Kyle Kalinske, the action that Trump did where he fucking tear gassed people to hold a Bible up in front of a church, that is a complete abuse of power.
Yeah.
And I don't, like, I know it's not about bombing people in other countries. Of course, people should consider that as well. But if he's not going to respect the Constitution and the rights of people to peacefully protest, then the guy's a authoritarian. Like, and I'm not okay with authoritarianism. Whoever it is, if it's a Democrat or a Republican, if they're going to do shit like this, I'm not going to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. I mean, like I've said before, if I were American, I mean, there's no way for me to possibly know for sure, of course. But I think that if I were American and I had the choice, I probably would have voted third party for like maybe the Libertarian Party or the Green Party, because like even though I think Biden is slightly better than Trump, I think he's barely better than Trump, especially in terms of his policies, to the point that there are some deal breakers for me, which is why it's similar to why here in Canada, I usually lately vote for neither the Liberals nor the Conservatives, because they're kind of the equivalent of the Democrats and the Republicans in America.
I think one of the advantages of voting for Biden is that you know exactly what you're going to get.
That's true.
I think with Biden, it's just, Trump is just, if you were going to give him a D&D alignment, he would be definitely in chaotic.
Yeah.
He'd likely be chaotic neutral, because chaotic neutral to chaotic evil, somewhere in between there. I know evil sounds super horrible, but in the D&D world, chaotic evil would be that they're completely self-serving.
I think he's like I think he's more selfish than evil, and I think he's more bumbling than maniacal.
Well, yeah, he's not evil. I'm just saying, like, the D&D designation would make him more like extremely selfish and self-serving.
Yeah.
Which is what all this election nonsense is doing.
Yeah.
He
He's
doesn't
being
care.
like a 3-year-old with that shit.
Yeah, he doesn't care about like the structural integrity of democracy. He only cares about his own bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if you heard about the whole pardoning thing, but there's been rumors that he was going to pardon himself before he leaves office.
Can you do that?
Yeah, you can. So, what? And he was going to pardon his kids as well. So, if you don't know what a pardon means, if you are accepting of a pardon, that means you are admitting guilt. So it's a straight up admission of guilt if someone accepts a pardon. So, Flynn pleaded guilty. Of course, he's going to accept a pardon. But if anyone has any personal integrity, they would not accept a pardon. At least if they pleaded like non-guilty and they lost. If you accept a pardon, you're also accepting guilt.
Well, for that reason, though, that just made me think. I wonder if Trump would not want to pardon himself, because then he would have to admit guilt.
I don't know. That's a good question. But then
he would never admit guilt, though.
Even if he did pardon himself, he would never admit that he was guilty, even though that's what a pardon essentially does.
Yeah, guilty. What would he be guilty of, though? Like, he's like got a billion things on the list, don't you?
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, a pardon, it would be effective. Basically, he could pardon himself for anything that he's done while in office.
Do you guys agree that, like, I don't know very much about this at all, but I've heard like a few people say who know more about this than me that what might be most likely for him to get prosecuted for is
Probably tax
after
fraud.
he's president, some financial crimes.
Yeah, because that's who are currently investigating him is in New York, and whatever he did. Well, I think he's being investigated for tax fraud, right?
Is he?
Yeah, in New York.
I was under the
Okay.
impression that they already knew his taxes.
Well, New York, I think, just gained access to them. So,
Gotcha. I mean, the
um,
other thing too is he was under investigation for a lot of things over the last 4 years. There was Ukraine, there was Russiagate, there was also the impeachment, right? So, if the FBI or CIA or any of the whatever you want to call them, deep state, didn't go through any of those documents to find any kind of dirt on Trump, I think they would have, you know what I mean, taken advantage of that at that point.
well, it depends on how good his lawyers are. Like, if his lawyers are able to see that he used legal loopholes and nothing's
I
going
don't
to happen
know.
to him.
He doesn't have really good lawyers. Have you seen what's her name, Sidney Powell or
Yeah,
Giuliani? That's not really good lawyers to me.
yeah, I know.
Man, I've been trying to avoid pay attention to those two.
Yeah, it depends. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how competent Trump will be into hiring lawyers for that.
He seems
He's
like he
definitely
fires a lot of them.
well, it definitely yeah, Giuliani and Powell. Those are pretty shitty picks, but oh man, it's just crazy. I just can't believe that. Well, I guess I can and can't. Like, I do understand that social media fuels a lot of the bullshit that's happening, but wow, are people just fucking wacky right now?
Yeah. But it's everywhere, dude. There's wackiness even here in Canada. I face it on a daily basis, and politics aside, even with COVID going on. And yeah, it's.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that thing? There was it was like a kind of an almost scandal recently about how I forget what the reason was, but there was something something that the conservatives did that pissed off Trudeau, so he threatened to call a federal election, but someone else in the Liberal Party, like others in the Liberal Party, stopped him from doing that before he did so, or something like that.
Not that I know of. I know he was under fire for the Wii scandal for a little bit, but that was kiboshed pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Although, again, you have the CBC that pretty much is run by the government and would cover that up anyway. So, yeah, no, it's gonna be Trudeau for a while, which I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm fine with. I voted Trudeau, so
I voted for him the first time, but not the second time, because after voting for him the first time, I thought, well, the only thing I liked that he did or said was federally legalizing weed, which is a great thing, but I don't like anything else that he did or said.
no, that's it. That's it. That's why I voted for him right there. Bingo, you got it. That's the only reason.
So now he already served his purpose. You can go on with somebody else.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, the problem is there's nobody else here in Canada, right? Our conservative O'Toole is, and yeah, I'm with Andrew. I voted Green last time. I'm more of like a politically homeless guy that just votes random. But I've voted NDP. I voted Conservative. I voted Liberal. I voted every party this country has had to offer. So I'm not really tribal in that way. But yeah, we only have Trudeau. So and if it's Trudeau for the next little while, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. He's like obviously kind of woke, but he's not. I think he's slightly better than it would be if we had a conservative prime minister.
Yeah, it could be worse. You could have Trump or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I voted Green in 2016.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like I ain't voting for Hillary. I ain't voting for Trump.
Yeah.
Complete shit. The reason I voted for Trump, I just thought he was dangerous. That's all.
Yeah.
And I was like, man,
You don't have like the option, like for you, the like parties like the Green Party don't have as much.
I could have, like, to be honest, because of the way electoral politics works here, it really didn't matter a whole lot who I voted for because my state is typically blue.
Blue, yep.
I always just vote for whoever I want to win the most, or I never make any sort of strategic voting decision. But one thing that I like about Canada, though, is that like the NDP is basically a third party that wins often, depending on where you're talking about, and even federally, and they're kind of like the equivalent of the Progressive Party, basically. I end up voting for them sometimes because I hate the liberals and the conservatives too much to vote for either of them, and I like them slightly more than the Green Party.
Yeah, they're hurting right now, bro. They're really hurting. I mean, they had a really poor showing last election, and they went bankrupt, right? So,
yeah, I guess one of the big problems I have here too is that I wish presidents and VPs ran separately. Because I would have actually voted for Pence if I had the choice between Kamala and Pence. I would have voted for Pence, which is he's fucking horrible. But I don't like Kamala at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't either.
Oh, excuse me, people out there. Kamala. Okay, I said it right.
Kamala.
Yeah. I think a Biden presidency is going to be good for you guys for the next 4 years. It'll at least cool things down. I don't think anything is going to happen, but I think the temperature will at least cool down. I do worry though if Mr. Boot there does fall and we get a Kamala presidency after all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think he's. I think the whole like dementia thing is played up. Is mostly sensational. Like, I watched the debates. He seemed fine.
Yeah, he did do fine. Yeah.
And then throughout his whole political career, he's known for putting his foot in his mouth. It's not something because he have an onset of dementia. It's like that's how he's been for forever. So
I think like he has some like just age-related dementia that anyone would have, really. But I think you and I were talking about this before, Dusty. I was saying, and I still think that too. I'm pretty sure he's still gonna make it through like an entire term of presidency. Like he can just be on pills all the time, like Trump is.
Yeah, he'll make it through the whole term. I don't worry about year 1 or 2. Maybe year 3 and 4, I might lean a little bit more. Kind of, we'll see. But hey, it depends. He is kind of slurring his words right now, and but yeah, you're right. He did look good during the debates, and I've seen him speak publicly after that, and he seems fine. So we'll just see. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, he's old as fuck. So you got to remember that Trump's going to be at that age when he supposedly is going to do his 2024 run.
Yeah. I wonder whether he actually is, or he's just saying that, or maybe he will run if someone makes fun of him enough again, just like how Obama made fun of him was one of the major reasons he ran the first time.
No, the GOP won't let him run again. That's a complete disaster, right? Because they're blocking like a ton of candidates like a Nikki Haley or a Dan Crenshaw or something like that, which they want to put forward for sure the next time it runs, right? And they don't. I think they ran Trump as an experiment. It failed. Let's move on to somebody else. I think that's their thinking. Trump could probably run as a third, maybe party, but I don't think as far as the GOP he would have his backing.
Oh, okay.
We'll have to see, because I think he's compromised the GOP because they've been forced to do shit that I don't think they're okay with.
And it depends on, like, he's still carrying on with this election nonsense right now, right? I think it depends on how long he carries on with that for and how he leaves office.
Do you guys think that Trumpism has affected the Republican Party then, or not? Because I mean, you could like there are anti-Trump Republicans and there are pro-Trump Republicans, right? And then there are like one or two Republicans, maybe, like I forget which one it is. It was either Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz who was like at least saying populist things relatively recently about stimulus, I think it was.
Yeah, but Ted Cruz was also supporting the president in his election bullshit. So.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So those we'll see, man. Like,
yeah.
I guess the biggest problem is fucking QAnon bullshit and
Yeah.
like all this other weird, like, you got to get rid of this conspiracy theory minded politics. It's just fucking annoying, and I don't know. I don't know. It all depends on many different factors, like the media environment. Depends on what kind of new conspiracy theories people are going to come up with. Depends on how people are recovering from the coronavirus, like economically. Yeah, it's going to depend on a lot of factors. I know economically we're going to be struggling for a few years, so Biden is going to have to really contend with that. So we'll see, man. We'll see.
Yeah,
Isn't
we'll
he?
see.
Isn't he like putting all of these neoliberals in his cabinet?
Oh, that's the biggest issue there too, because I know his Secretary of State pick is a total interventionist.
Is that the one who's is that near Tandon, or which one is that? I don't remember. I don't
No,
remember many of their names.
what's his name? All I know is that the guy was on Sesame Street. What's his name?
Really?
Yeah, he was on Sesame Street. What's his name? It's a dude who was also in the Obama administration, um, who worked in the State Department. He's like, I think he's Jewish, if I'm not mistaken. And he's like a total interventionist because his grandfather, I believe, survived the Holocaust.
Okay.
So he believes that, yeah. I think he actually worked for the Clinton administration too.
Of
So
course.
yeah, and I get it. I get that intervention should happen when it should. Like if we're talking about Rwanda and the Clinton administration, I think that would have been a just cause to get involved in something like that. But you got to balance it out. Like Iraq, that's not just cause.
No.
Something like a genocide in Rwanda, yeah, you want to keep some peace there. So I don't know. We have to see because I think in Iraq he was pro Iraq, so
Okay.
that's not something I'm happy about.
Did you see too that like Biden was using virtue signaling by like putting female and like women female members and like women of color in charge of the Pentagon and place like that? Like we're gonna put women and people of color in charge of the war machine. That'll make it better, right?
Well, it's the war machine. I guess the only thing I don't know anything about these people. Like I think I've only looked into two of his cabinet picks so far, and the others I don't have a whole lot of knowledge about. But the two that he picked seemed pretty neoliberal, and pretty, Biden-esque, so to speak. There's no, yeah, there's no super like progressives that he's picked or anything.
Yeah.
He's picked basically people he's worked with before.
Yeah. It's so funny that anyone thought that, they were going to be able to push him towards progressive cabinet members and policies.
No, typically nobody gets put in nobody, only the people that get put into those positions are people who play politics.
Yeah.
Like you're never going to see an like I can't even think of any time that there was any ultra progressive cabinet pick. Like it just doesn't happen as far as I can remember.
Oh, okay.
Usually progressives, like super progressives, are typically on the fringe of democratic politics. They're not in the forefront. I guess there has been an exception lately with Bernie Sanders, but like even then, they're usually in the minority. They are currently. Because in order to be successful as a party, you need to have a big tent, and you can't alienate. You can't do the whole alienation thing that progressives like to do.
Doesn't that like, well, at least I don't know, like at least to me, since I've become anywhere like aware at all about politics, which was maybe since the Bush administration, just barely, but probably more likely like since the Obama administration. It seemed like, and I've gotten more of this sense as I've learned more about politics and like actually read books from people with different political persuasions, that it seems like there's at least often this sort of struggle within parties for, you know, what wing of the party controls it at one particular time. Like there's the neoliberal wing of the Democratic Party and the progressive wing, and there are probably others too. And then similarly with the Republican Party, they're like the neoconservatives and the more populist right wingers, and even the pro Trumpers, and they all like despise each other. Similarly with the different camps in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I really haven't. It's funny because I tend to see more media about I guess the fracturing of Democrats more than I see in conservatives. As I remember reading in The Righteous Mind that conservatives tend to have the funny thing about conservatives is that they're actually more collective, which doesn't make sense. But they seem to be able to rally around, I think loyalty was one of the moral foundations, right, for conservatives. So they'll use that moral foundation to rally around and to coalesce more often than Democrats, because they don't have that moral foundation of loyalty. So that's why you probably see the more fracturing of democratic politics, where there's always the infighting going on.
Yeah.
But
there's always in-group fighting. I think you both left and right have it. I mean, AOC
yeah, there
and
is.
Nancy Pelosi never got along, and I don't think.
Well, I guess the only yes, it's on both sides, but on the conservatives, what is it like? Fucking Mitt Romney, Susan Collins. It's just like I guess they have their own squad, but they're not really a squad, right?
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Like they have their own squad, but they're not, I guess, a squad. So I guess it's Romney, Susan Collins, and it's funny because all of the people who are, I guess, vocal about Trump don't have to rely on Trump voters to stay in office. So they're able to be. I'm not sure how much like the other senators and representatives actually think Trump is sane, or if they're just clamming up because they don't want to piss off their own voters. So it's hard to know what their true thoughts are because they rely on Trump voters to stay in office.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it seems like those four Republicans seem to be a bit more honest because they don't have to kowtow to Trump because they don't rely on his support. Interesting stuff.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
on a
total tangent.
Yeah,
That
on a
was
totally
tangent
like
extreme.
even more extreme tangent here. I was just looking at Goodreads. I've already exceeded my number of my reading goal for this year.
I saw that. Yeah,
I've read 324 books.
and I hit mine a couple days ago with 120.
Good for you, man. That's more than last year, right?
No, last year I got to one. Well, I actually set my goal at 120 last year, but last year I got up to I got up to 140, but last year I read a lot of like manga, comic books.
Okay.
So
You could still read another. Well, do you think you could still read another 20 books by the end of the year? Maybe
if
not.
they're all graphic novels, I could.
Yeah. You could read like another compilation of short stories too.
Well, if I went ahead and listened to the Arcanum Unbounded, it'd probably get me to 140.
Oh, you haven't listened to it yet?
No, I just got it for you.
Oh, okay.
I'm not even close, man. I want to say I'm not like 20, 30 books, man. I'm currently like 3/4 of the way through Joseph Heinrich's new book, which is such a slog. It's like 800 pages, and like it's so thick. It's good, but it's
I use a lot of different speed and smart reading techniques, and I'm always reading or like listening to an audiobook. Like I think 5 or 6 days a week I like to devote an hour a day to just sitting down and reading, and I can read a lot in an hour because I practice speed reading so much. And I'm always listening to an audiobook throughout the day, like every day too.
Yes.
Yeah, I mix it up. I do audiobooks and then I do podcasts still. And then I read actually physical books, but I'll do a mix of audiobook because I'm always in a truck going from place to place to client. So I got a lot of time on the road to go through audiobooks and podcasts. So yeah.
Yeah, because my speed reading, when I'm able to do it, is like 40 seconds a page, which probably sounds slow to Andrew, but it's much faster than normal.
That's not bad.
Yeah, because when I was reading the Culture Code, I think I averaged about 40 seconds a page when I was reading through that. I can only do that with nonfiction. I cannot read that fast if I'm.
It's easier to for obvious reasons because there are less words on the page. It's easier to read books that have lots of dialogue, and I seem to read a lot of books that have a lot of dialogue, or maybe just good authors are often dialogue focused. I don't know.
Yeah,
it depends on the author too, though. I mean, like you read Herman Cain, and that'll take you forever to get through that book. But then you read like Candace Owens, and you fly through it because it's just like I don't know. It's easy to absorb, and it's just I don't know. It's not well written to a point where you have to really think about what she's saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Same. Like I think I read her book in like a day or two. It was like nothing.
I read it like driving in the before the drive was done in my 5-hour drive from Fort McMurray to Edmonton.
Yeah, it was quick. I think I just had 2 listening sessions of like I think I was listening at 1.8. So what's the book, like 5 or 6 hours long?
Yeah,
I think it's around 6.
Yeah, so just 2 like 1.5 hour sessions listening to it at high speed. But I don't know.
Oh man,
3 books a week is about what I had to do to get to 120. It's like 2.5. It's like 2.5 because if I was doing 3, I would have gotten like 150.
That's still more than the average person for sure, man. I don't even know like what my average book per week is. Sometimes I think it's 3, but obviously it has to be more than that some weeks. Sometimes it might be 4 or 5 depending on the book. Sometimes it might be like 2 or even like less if I'm reading like a 1,200 page fantasy book like A Song of Ice and Fire or like a Stormlight Archive book or Wheel of Time book or something like that.
You also have more.
Yeah, from what I've read, if you're able to read 70 books a year, that's considered a voracious reader. So I'm like almost double that, and you're like way more than double that.
I'm like a mainline heroin book reader.
Yeah, so.
But also is how you were raised, Andrew. Not everybody was raised that way.
Yeah.
So it's Andrew reads a shitload. Just to let you know, Andrew, recently, I don't know what the hell happens, but with my library, you can add things to your wish list, and if the library purchases that book, it gets put on hold. On December 3rd, I had like 20 books on loan just dropped on me because my library decided to buy a shitload of books. So I have Madness and Civilization, an audiobook form.
Oh, nice.
And I have
Foucault.
Yeah, I got a couple of Foucault, an audiobook form. I got um, what's that? Manufacturing Consent. I got a
Oh,
Gad
yeah, Noam
Sad.
Chomsky.
Yeah, I got a Gad Sad book. I got Kill All Normies. Like a bunch of shit that I had recommended. I was
Oh,
like, damn,
cool.
they're dropping all these books on me. So
That
since
Gad Sad book was pretty good. I enjoyed that.
it's an older one. It's not the newest one that he has.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I haven't read any of his books yet, but I've watched it. I don't follow it as much anymore. I used to follow his podcast or YouTube channel a lot. I don't much anymore, but I do occasionally still.
I like when he talks about like what he studies.
Oh.
I don't really care when he just goes into like culture war bullshit. But
he's also like one of those intellectuals that now that I've learned more about actual so-called postmodernism and post-structuralism and thinkers like Foucault, it just is he's one of those many intellectuals who I just have to fucking facepalm when he starts talking about postmodernism.
Yeah, so the book that I got is called Consuming Instinct. So I'm guessing it's about like his studies about consumerism and
Yeah, that's right.
and psychology like related to that. So
yeah, his scientific work, at least in what he's said about it, sounds pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, so I got like a bunch of shitload of books, bunch of fantasy books. I think got dropped on me.
Sweet.
Giant
Yeah.
list, man.
Let me know, both you guys. Let me know what you think about the Alex and Berenson Unreported Truths COVID books if you read them.
I have to, I put that on my list. I have to see if my library is going to get that anytime soon.
I should look into that too.
Yeah.
They're easy to get. There's like 30 pages, so if you want to stock
30
up
pages,
on more,
that's it?
stock up on more books for the end of the year.
30 pages.
Add to your
That's not
total.
a book. That's a
No,
pamphlet.
they're pretty much pamphlets. It's like 30, 50 pages. And,
If you really want to match your read the number of reads from last year, Dusty, the easiest way to do that would be to just read 20 poems.
Or I could read my daughter some more children's books. I know some
Yeah, that
children's
too.
books
yeah.
happen to appear on my Goodreads list. That's because if I read her a Kindle book, then it just pops up in there. Like I think I did I read her a Christmas book recently, and I was like, oh, it's on my Goodreads list. Okay, that's fine, whatever. And
That
um,
counts.
yeah, it counts. I read it. It's a fucking kid's book, but hey,
Yeah.
I did it. But one that I'm really excited that I got the audiobook for recently is I think it's called Rings, Swords, and Monsters or something like that. My library just got it. It's one that you recommended to me,
Did you
Andrew.
tell Dusty about the light?
Which one? I missed what you just said there.
The Rings, Swords, and Monsters.
Oh yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah, my library just got that, so I got a copy of that too.
Cool.
But yeah, got a lot of so much crap that I had to download off of the library server because I could only check 10 things out at a time. So I had to download all my audiobooks, return them, and then check out the other 10. It was like, I had to do this for like 30 books, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Are you gonna get me some of those too?
Yeah, I'm just going to have to show you the list of books that I have.
Sweet.
And then you need to tell me which ones you want. Because I forget the ones that I offered you. Because I don't even remember if I gave you the room that it happens. Did you get that or not?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I got to find some system where I remember which books I've given you because I'm starting to lose track. And if you want any of these, Chris, let me know, and I'll upload them for you too.
Yeah, that sounds like we should get like a shared drive because I have I can get a ton of books. So
Yeah, I just get them from my library and then I download them to my PC and then I put them on Google Drive.
Yeah, and then I just download them from Google Drive.
cool.
But I only have like 5 workable gigs, so usually after everyone downloads something, I take it off and put something else up.
Cool.
But yeah.
Right on.
I'll let you know. We should just get like a big old book chat thing and then like post our stuff.
Yeah,
Say,
for
hey,
sure.
I got this audiobook from and if you have an e-reader, I could also get you like Kindle books, but that's only if your e-reader is airplane mode e-reader.
Oh, right. Because otherwise it would delete it, right?
That's right. Like I have 3 tablets, one of them's an e-reader, and I do not connect it to the internet. And that's because if I check out a book, they use the internet to validate the loan period. So if I check out a book, as long as I don't connect to the internet, I basically have that book forever.
Sweet. Fair enough.
So that's if you want, if you have an air-gapped e-reader, let me know and I can get you ebooks too.
Yeah, I don't. I usually read physical books or I do audiobooks. That's it. But I can get pretty much any book out there. So
I usually read a physical book, an audiobook, or if I read an ebook, I read it on my phone.
yeah, I do a bit of both actually. I'll read a few pages and then I'll pause it and then I'll fast forward and go on the audiobook because I'm driving and then I'm home with the kids and then so.
Do you have that Whisper Sync?
No, I use the Apple Books app, and then some book formats don't come in that format. They come in like just regular MP3 or WAV files, and then I just use iTunes or whatever or Apple Music or whatever to listen to it that way.
Okay, so you're using a whole different ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got the Droid, and Andrew got the Chromebook. But yeah.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I'll post stuff I get. But you said you get access to basically anything. How do you get your stuff, man?
Which I was gonna. I subscribe to a bunch of private torrent audiobook forums that pretty much can give me any audiobook.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you tried to send me a few of those before, but I couldn't get them to work for me. I wonder though because I wonder if it's because I tried on my laptop because you emailed them to me, because with the ones that Dusty sends me, I already was downloading them through my phone and that always works, but then when I tried to do it on my computer one time it didn't work.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's specific. Some audiobooks are in specific formats. So if you don't use like Apple Books, for example, and you try to add that to an Android phone, it might not,
won't work.
Translate properly.
Yeah. I don't think I tried to use any Apple thing. I forget what exactly the problem was though.
Yeah,
all the books I have are MP3, so they'll work on anything.
Right on. Yeah. But yeah, if you guys ever need a book or anything, or you can't find it on whatever site or library you use, shoot me a message and I could probably find it 9 times out of 10.
All right. But if you put it, you have like my internet company is super anal about BitTorrents, so I know for sure I can't download BitTorrents of movies and games because I've been pinged for that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it affects audiobooks or not.
Yeah, so you'd have to use like a VPN, and then I use private trackers, which is different than a public tracker torrent, like for example a Pirate Bay. So anybody can go on Pirate Bay and download it. It's not like that. You have to actually.
So they wouldn't be able to know like what I'm downloading. Is that what you're saying?
Your ISP would be able to know, but instead of seeing like Thomas Sowell, white, black rednecks, and whatever the audio file is, if it's a private tracker, it shows up through your ISP as X4 a bunch of code that.
So they wouldn't know exactly.
So they wouldn't know exactly. They know you're downloading something from an audio site, but they don't know exactly what it is. Whereas if you use Pirate Bay and you download, they know. Yeah.
That's where I got pinged from using Pirate Bay. Maybe that's what it was. Because I downloaded a Skyrim mod. I think it was Dawn Guard or something.
Yeah.
And then I downloaded a movie. I think I got in trouble. Like, oh, you're using this and blah, blah, blah. They get really pissed off when you're
it's an open tracker for them in order for it to seed properly, to get as many people out there as possible.
Proceeding.
It doesn't use any kind of an encryption or anything like that.
Yeah, I guess the upside is like there's usually pretty quick downloads when you're using Pirate Bay. It doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
But then you can get some crappy stuff if you're not careful.
Yeah, that's the only thing. Yeah, Pirate Bay's got a lot of viruses. But nowadays, like as far as speeds, I mean it's pretty standard. You can get movies and a bunch of stuff at fairly decent speeds. So.
Oh, okay. I don't think we got. Okay, so I think we're gonna go ahead and rank the book 1 star. That's what I gave it. What about you, Andrew?
Yep, 1 star.
Well, I might as well give it 1 star as well.
No, be honest, man. Be honest about what you think. Well. Okay, so the Goodreads, the way it works is because I'm using the Goodreads ranking.
Me too.
1 star is didn't like it. 2 stars is it was okay.
Yeah.
3 stars is liked it. 4 stars is really liked it, and 5 is like hell yeah.
Yeah, I might get it 2 or 3 stars. I don't think I've given any book a 1 star.
So the 3 stars in Goodreads would be liked it.
I'd have to go back and.
That's like their official, like what the rating is supposed to mean on Goodreads. So a 5 star should be pretty rare, and a 1 star should be.
Oh, I've given like so many books 5 stars. Shit.
Yeah, I mostly give 4.
Yeah.
But then again, I've given 3s, and I've only given a couple 2s. And I've only given 2 books 1s, and that would be Candace Owens' book and then this book. Like I even gave Ta-Nehisi Coates 2 stars.
Oh wow, really?
Well, that's because his prose is great.
Oh yeah. I actually don't remember what rating I gave it. I might have given it the same rating for the same reason. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I think I gave a fantasy book that's in high regard 2 stars. I think it was, what was the name of that book? I don't know, but a bunch of people love it. It's like, it's a YA fantasy book. I was like, I can't pay attention too much of it.
Oh, wait, I have it. I'm just going through my Goodreads right now. I gave Tucker Carlson a 2-star rating.
So I gave him a 3. I thought it was okay. But if I thought about it again, maybe I'd give it a 2. Yeah.
And,
I gave a lot of 5 stars.
I gave Donald Trump Jr.'s Triggered a 3. That's the other lowest one.
How was that?
It's like those are easy reads for me. Those are my trash books, right? So I make through those in like a day or two. But for that, I find interesting what his life was like growing up as like the son of a rich, and he hung out with like. I feel kind of bad. He hung out with like his maid and like those were his parents and you know what I mean. All of his like people that
it's like a fucked up childhood.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of fucked up childhood. All these people that ran errands for him and all these people that were construction employees of Trump and his hotels. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But yeah, it just gives you insight as what the family is like.
Well, I've read the. Did you read Mary Trump's book?
No, it's on my queue or my list.
I really liked it. It's actually more about Trump's dad than about Trump himself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's about the relationship between Trump's dad and her father.
Right
Like,
on.
a big chunk of it is. But you kind of see, like, oh, that's kind of like this assholeless nature comes from.
Yeah.
The dad was like a complete fucking bastard.
I heard that. I haven't read the book, but I heard that.
Yeah, their dad was a complete bastard, like fucking asshole. Which makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have an asshole dad, make some asshole kids.
Yep.
Yep.
But yeah. So 1 star, 1 star, and 3 stars.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I don't do 1 or 2 star. I haven't done it yet. Maybe I should.
Well, I have to because I didn't like the book. So
Revamp it.
I didn't like the book. Well, you haven't read it, so you can't do a ranking yet.
Yeah,
right?
I can't do a ranking yet.
Yeah, so 2, and possibly a 3 when he finally reads it, because he doesn't give books 1 and 2 stars. So we'll see. All right, section 2. What'd you read, Andrew?
Oh, well, I finished reading. I finished reading A Feast for Crows in my reread of A Song of Ice and Fire, book 4 in the Song of Ice and Fire / Game of Thrones series, and yeah, I was telling you some of it last week because I was reading it last week. I probably like it. I would say in my second read through this time, I would say that it's my favorite book in the series other than the first one, because it's like it explores different characters and it leaves some characters out and focuses on others, and then we also hear from some characters whose perspectives we haven't experienced before, and then of course all sorts of exciting stuff happens too, and there's actually some character development which doesn't happen that much or does happen very slowly, especially in the earlier books. And yeah, I just love that series. It's for me it's hard to say whether that or the Joe Abercrombie's First Law trilogy is my favorite grimdark fantasy series. I like them both roughly equally, I would say, for some similar reasons and some different reasons.
Would you say like First Law plus the standalones?
Overall, I like the original trilogy more than the standalones, because I like the original trilogy more than 2 out of the 3 of the standalones, but Best Served Cold, I actually like that one more than the original trilogy.
Okay. As I was reading someone's Facebook conversation about First Law, and it was someone that used to participate in MMA, Sean Scholes. I know he was on one of our live streams like a long time ago.
Oh, was he?
And yeah, I forgot what it was about. I think it was probably about fantasy. But he was talking to Mason Gromer. Do you remember that guy?
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about fantasy in like a little Facebook conversation. And Sean Scholes was like, yeah, First Law. That's one of my favorites. And he agreed with me that Red Country is the best.
Oh, okay. Red Country is my second favorite standalone, especially like with what happens with Lamb.
Oh, I love Red Country. It's so dark.
Yeah, it is awesome for sure. Like the second standalone being my least favorite Joe Abercrombie book that I've read so far, I still gave it 4 stars.
Yeah, and that's the Heroes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They're all good books. It's just in comparison, you know. It's like, I don't know, trying to compare some Dresden books. Like they're all mostly fucking fantastic, but you gotta like measure amongst themselves, you know.
I think the only, if I remember correctly, I think the only Dresden Files book that I gave 3 stars was the first one, because that one was still pretty basic before it got into any deep character development or world building or anything like that.
Yeah, that's super basic.
Yeah.
It's like you're reading an episode of like Buffy or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. Um, oh, I lost connection there.
Oh.
I was going to ask you, yeah, about the Game of Thrones book. The one you read, is that one where they focus a lot on the Iron Islands?
No, they focus a little bit on there. They focus mostly on King's Landing and
Okay.
a little bit on the Wall with Jon Snow and and on what's happening and on like Samwell having sailed across the sea and and Arya learning to be an assassin and Brienne looking for Sansa and Sansa in the in that castle with Peter.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Man, I forgot how far ahead the shows went with all that stuff.
Yeah, this is book 4 of 5 too, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you should even bother with the show.
I did start like when
The
when
beginning
I
is
was
solid.
sorry?
The first 5 or so seasons are pretty solid.
Oh, okay. I think I think I actually got a little farther ahead in the show than I told you I had, because when I was out of town last time at the Airbnb we were staying at, they had like this platform that you could watch HBO shows on, so I was trying to find where I was in the Game of Thrones series the last time I left off, and I thought I was in season 2 or 3, but then I was looking through the episodes and I realized, oh, I've definitely finished the first 3 seasons. I'm going to start on season 4. I think I might have even seen season 4 before, but it's hard because the earlier seasons of the show are pretty close to the books, and I've been reading the books recently, so I'm not sure whether I'm confusing the show for the books.
Yeah, but there's a divergence in season 3, I think, because they focus on some made up characters.
Well, the show in general, it seems like I think you might have described this to me before when we were talking about the comparison between the show and the books, about how they sort of take slightly different routes to the same end results.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, I was kind of upset that they took out Strong Bellows. I was like, oh, I wanted to see that guy do his thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Oh, you said so. Game of Thrones. What else did
yeah.
you
So
get
other than finishing A Feast for Crows, I read this essay by H.P. Lovecraft. I forget what exactly it's called, but I think it's called Supernatural Horror in Fiction, but it's interesting. It's basically just this essay that H.P. Lovecraft wrote, kind of about how the horror genre evolved out of different genres and how it's developed. And he goes into some famous authors too, like Edgar Allan Poe and Gothic poetry and that sort of thing too, and about how horror works, like allowing the reader to imagine things, because your imagination can always come up with more horrifying things than if you show them everything, and sort of different horror techniques like that. It was a really interesting book, especially since I'm a big fan of H.P. Lovecraft's writing.
Okay, so are you also a fan of like The Outsiders and Dresden?
Oh, of course.
Because
Yeah.
they're obviously like H.P. Lovecraft inspired.
There's a lot of H.P. Lovecraft inspired stuff. Like one of the Metallica instrumental songs is called "The Call of Cthulhu."
Awesome.
Mm.
Was there anything else you read this week?
Yeah, so I read. I read 7 out of the 8 short stories in Arcanum Unbound. All of the ones except for I was talking to you and Tristram about which ones I should avoid to avoid spoilers. So I skipped the only one that that both of you guys said that, or at least one of you said that I could avoid spoilers by reading. So I read the only one that I didn't read was The Hope of Elantris, and then I read all of the other ones. I like them. Did you say you read them yet or not? You
I have
didn't read them?
not. I have not read Hope of Elantris, and I haven't read Emperor Soul.
Okay, but you read the other ones?
All the other ones, yeah. Did you read The Secret History again?
No, I didn't read that again. I'm gonna wait since you, Tristram, and I are doing book chats on Mistborn, and I figure after we talk about all 3 books in Era 1, I would like to talk about both Mistborn Secret History and also the 11th Metal, that short story, that really short story from the perspective of Kelsier, that's basically a Mistborn prequel with him training and learning how to kill people and getting his mist cloak. Yeah. I think my favorite short story out of the ones that I read in Arcanum Unbounded is probably that one called Silence for Shadows in the Forests of Hell. That one where that woman is going
interesting
around.
World. Like the world that he built there is really crazy.
Yeah, I like how they're going through that evil forest and trying to kill demons, and they're like hunting assassins, and there are these interesting rules in the forest, like you can't allow blood
to be spilled.
Yeah, you can't allow blood to be spilled.
You can't run.
Yeah, you can't run. And what was the other one?
I think you can't be loud or something. Like you can't make a lot of noise. You can't make any quick movements. You have to be only slow and deliberate. You can't spill any blood, and you can't be loud.
Yeah, and that led to some interesting things too, like ways that she had to like kill people by strangling them with their shirt over their heads so she won't spill any blood in the process of killing them and shit like that.
And you had to use silver against like those specter things.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
I really liked the Sixth of Dusk. I thought that was an interesting
I like that one too. Yeah.
Like the whole those birds that give them special abilities.
Yeah, and how you see your dead body if you're about to die or you're at a very high risk for death.
You'll see your dead body where you died. It was pretty interesting. And then they have like these creatures, and then there's like some type of aliens involved in that story as well, like passing technology over to aliens. So I wonder if he's ever going to flesh that world out into like a series or something.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. I was watching listening to the Legendarium episode about that, and I don't know if you've heard that, but they didn't like it. They didn't like it overall. But they were commenting also on how the part that they found the most exciting and they would love to see fleshed out was like that whole part about them communicating with aliens, basically, like you were saying.
Yeah, like I want to see more about that, because like the ending was pretty interesting. So I didn't say that was my favorite. I also really liked the Silence one, because that was pretty damn interesting. Like a lot of those short stories are interesting. And you didn't like Edge Dancer that much, right?
Yeah, I wasn't really a huge fan of Edge Dancer or, if I remember correctly, Emperor's Soul that much, because I mean, to me, mostly it was because like I like the more horror environment of Silence for Shadows in the Forest of Hell, and I like the like fast paced action of it, and similar to Six of the Dusk as well. And I kind of like the character of Lift in Edge Dancer, and I liked the world building that was happening. But to me, the plot was not really that exciting to me.
Oh no, yeah, I agree. Like I don't. The most things I remember about that story was the character itself is kind of wacky, so to speak, and her relationship with her Spren is pretty weird as well.
Yeah.
And her power is strange. Like she makes things slippery. That's like a weird power. But I wanted to make sure you had read that before you got into Stormlight 3 because she appears without any explanation.
Oh, okay.
So you kind of need to know what's going on with her, instead of you're reading Stormlight 3 and you're like, who's this random list person that they just brought into the story here?
It is even labeled as Stormlight 2.5 on Goodreads in brackets.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And there's something I need to read before I read Rhythm of War, because there's actually a Stormlight 3.5 called Dawn Shard.
Okay. What's it called?
Dawn Shard.
Okay.
It's another short story. Much like Edge Dancer. I wish that he had included it, but it came out after Arcanum Unbounded, so not much I could do about that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I did notice that you had read a lot of those.
I'm looking forward to reading Oathbringer soon too.
Oh yeah,
and Gentleman Bastard's book too.
Yeah, and
but I've still got to read. I've still got to read Briefcases and Peace Talks and Authority or Area X Book 3. But that'll only take me a couple weeks probably, I bet.
Yeah, that shouldn't take you too long. I still need to get my hands on the Gentleman Bastards too. I think there's no wait list for it, but right now my loans are already at maximum, so I gotta wait to turn something in.
You said one of them that you got was oh shit, what that one with killing in the title? The non-fiction one?
No, I don't. I've never read a Bill O'Reilly book.
No, not that one. No. Kill All Normies. Kill All Normies.
Oh yeah, I just got that.
Yeah,
I just
that one was really good. I read that relatively recently. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's on my list. I want to read that one too.
Yeah, I'll let you know if I upload it, Chris. I actually had this on my to buy list for a while. And it is a list that I give everybody for Christmas if they're looking to get me a present, but no one has picked that. But apparently I don't need it. Well, I wouldn't mind having a hard copy, but yeah, I'm going to get this audio copy. I think that might be the next nonfiction book that I listen to. Let's Kill All Normies. Because I remember liking her appearance on the Thaddeus show. That's why I put it on my list.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to read her book too.
I think that's where I heard of her as well.
So I was like, because he always has like pretty interesting people. I don't think he's like as prolific as he was at the beginning. Like I don't see him doing too many shows now. But it's a lot to keep track of. Yeah, Thaddeus.
Oh, he just released a podcast.
I think he still does a podcast at least once a week, sometimes more than that.
Yeah. He's still podcasting, but nothing.
Yeah, he did one today, like Chris just mentioned. Yeah.
Oh, because I haven't I occasionally check and see who he's talked to, and sometimes I was like, he's been on there before. Oh, he's been on there before.
Yeah.
I almost always am interested in his conversations.
Yeah. I just have to get back into him because you got to be in a certain headspace for Thaddeus.
Yeah.
You have to have your thinking cap on. But was there anything else you had read this week?
Yeah, I think there was, but I'm not remembering them off the top of my head right now. I'm
Probably
gonna look
some
them up on. I'm gonna look them up on Goodreads.
like an
But
obscure philosophy book or something.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna look up what I read recently here on Goodreads.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll
Um,
start. Did you find something?
um,
What about you, Chris? You read anything lately?
Right now, like I said earlier, I'm in the middle of Joseph Heinrich's new book about weird people and societies. Weird
Oh,
being the westernized education, industrial, rich, and democratic acronym.
oh, cool.
yeah. I
Kind of
think I
goes
have this
through.
book on my list.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really thick, lots of information. I've had to go back a few times in the audiobook and listen to a few other passages, but it pretty much goes how Westerners, weird have done weird things. There's a whole religious chapter where he goes through like the Protestant Reformation and all that. Yeah, so reading that. I did quickly read the COVID Berenson book, part 3, which is on masks. It was only 30-40 pages. So,
What?
yeah. And, yeah, I picked up, I want to read, I picked up a book on Ayn Rand at my local bookstore. It was an older book. And,
About Ayn Rand or that you
about
wrote?
Ayn Rand, yeah, it's about her. I think it's about her life and career or whatever.
The subtitles just said about Iran.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, not that
That's
Ayn
Yeah.
Ayn Rand. Ayn
Ayn
Rand.
Ayn Rand. Yeah.
And another
Oh,
book.
it just said
Iron Man.
Iron Man. I don't think the subtitles can say Ayn Rand.
Oh,
Oh
it
wait,
did.
no, it
It
did.
just
It
did.
did this time.
Great.
Oh,
So it picked it up.
Yeah.
Okay, the subtitles. I have subtitles off. That's why I was like.
Oh, okay.
And I also
Yeah.
picked up a book about the lost treasure of the Knights Templar.
Oh, cool.
Oh, what's it called?
The Lost Treasure of the Knights Templar and Solving the Oak Island Mystery by Stephen Sora. So,
Oh, okay. That sounds interesting.
I've read a lot of Knights Templar books.
yeah,
I might have read this, but I can't recall because it's been years.
been a while. I honestly haven't delved that much into it, so that's why I kind of got it. It's kind of go
It's
down.
interesting. Like all the Knights Templar stuff is really fascinating.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Especially the conspiracy stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've heard some of that conspiracy stuff from, like the Da Vinci Code and stuff like that.
Well, this
But
is
I
all
haven't-
stuff I knew before that. So when Assassin's Creed came out, it's like, I already know all this shit. And people are like,
Okay.
oh, did you play Assassin's Creed? It's like, oh, look at that Templar stuff. I was like, yeah, I kind of read up on this like 4 or 5 years ago. And I even thought
okay.
of making before Assassin's Creed came out, I was actually thinking of proposing like a Knights Templar game. But the Knights
Oh,
Templar weren't going to be like bad guys, you're going to be good guys.
okay. Oh, interesting.
man, it's interesting.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I always thought about making a Knights Templar game, and then Assassin's Creed came out. I was like, fuck, they did it first.
Yeah, they beat you to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The only other book I read this last week that I forgot to tell you guys about is The Bands of Mourning, of course.
Oh yeah, that has a
Yeah.
interesting ending, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like the ending. It's a really good book.
Yeah, because you see, like, okay, there's these people from the other part of the planet that have a different understanding of like the magic system that you had not heard of. Like, and these people have existed on Scadrial apparently throughout all of the whole series, but you just find out about them in that book.
Yeah.
So there's like this whole new layer to the Mistborn universe, this whole other civilization that you really didn't know about.
Yeah, that's so cool, man.
And they have like flying vehicles.
I love the Cosmere. The more I read by Brandon Sanderson, the more I'm looking at whatever I'm reading by him in terms of the sense of the larger Cosmere.
Yeah, so it's like, more people, more cultures. Let's see what's up with these guys. I think they're always wearing masks too, right? They always have these masks on.
Oh yeah, that's the culture you're talking about. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
it's
always
really
wearing
interesting.
masks. They have flying vehicles. Yeah, and they're from like cold weather, like the Southern Pole or something like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like how you were saying, and they were saying this in the Legendarium episode that I listened to about it too, about how it gets kind of like Indiana Jonesy, which is interesting. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you. Like, it seems like Era 2, each book has its own flavor. Like, the first book was like a Western. The second book was like... It's hard to explain because the second book had like a lot of political stuff in it that I remember because there's like this political kind of chaos that was going where people were like protesting and there was the Khandra. It was like a weird love story where the Khandra was like his original love, and then he had to kill her because the Khandra went crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that, right? So it was like a weird love story, and then the last book is definitely an Indiana Jones adventure.
Yeah. And I love how much like everyone is participating in the action and being heroes, like not like Wax and Wayne, and then also I always forget I always like have trouble distinguishing between the three women's names. Is it Steris who's his fiance, Wax's fiance?
Yes.
Steris, and the other two, I always confuse like which one is the crime scene investigator that worked with him when he was just a full-fledged cop, and the one who is a Khandra.
Yeah, you'd have to tell me the names, and I'd be able to tell you.
I don't even remember their names right now.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've listened to that, so I can tell you. One of the things I do love about the audiobooks is Michael Kramer just does a great job with the voices.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, he puts in the actual goddamn effort to do voices. Like, there are some voice, like, narrators that I can't stand because they put zero effort in character voices. I'm talking about you, Scott Brick. But Michael
Or they
Kramer
put too much and they go way over the top.
I'm trying to think of who goes way over the top. I can't. Oh, you're talking about
that guy who
Game of Thrones, right?
Is it Roy DePriest?
Yeah. That's what you're talking about. Yeah, he kind of gets screechy, especially when he's a woman's voice.
Yeah.
I don't mind
Like,
people that go over the top. It's the people that are like monotone and like put me to sleep. Those ones.
Oh, you would not like Scott Brick.
To me, like when I'm listening to the Song of Ice and Fire books, they're supposed to be grim dark, and he's like ruining the grim darkness by describing a torture scene in this like ridiculous voice when he's doing the dialogue of the characters.
Yeah. One of these days, I'll have to dig up the Roy Avers version and get that to you.
Yeah.
I think I have the first 2 books or maybe 3 books done by him, but I'll have to see if I could dig those up. But, what did I read? I didn't read much. I just read a couple chapters of Crown of Swords. I think I'm in like chapter 22. It's still going to be a while. Sorry, man. I'm just going through it slowly.
You wanted to get to chapter 30 before we do the next chat on it with Tristram, right?
Yeah, chapter 30 is our next. It's going to be 2 chapter 30. So yeah. I finished Ready Player 2.
Oh, did I see on Goodreads that you didn't like it?
It's not that I didn't like it. I didn't like it as much as the first book. I still enjoyed it, but the first book is leaps and bounds better. I think the biggest problem with the second book is that the first book was so epic that they really had I didn't like the pacing in book 2. I felt like there was more depth in book 1. Book 2 is a bit more complex when we're talking about like the relationships, but I don't know. Book 2 just doesn't have the magic that book 1 had. I think mainly it's because the pacing is I just didn't like it. It was too, I don't want to spoil it because if I talk about why the pacing is bad, it kind of spoils the story.
Okay. And yeah, I bet I'll probably read it.
Well, I'll just say the first book, it takes place over months and months and months, right? The second book is a very short span of time.
Okay.
And you can't really develop characters all that great. Well, unless you're Jim Butcher, you can develop characters that great. Because most of the Dresden books are like within a 24-hour period.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like there were parts where it would have. Okay, here's the problem with that universe that Ernest Cline has created. The first book is super epic, and a lot happens, but there's a pretty good span of time, so all of that happens makes sense. Problem with the second book is that it's in a very short span of time, and the pacing, while breakneck, I don't like it. I didn't like the pacing because I didn't felt like you could tell that it was rushed, and it felt like the ending was rushed as well. So I'll post that, and you'll listen to it and let me know what you think, because I thought that the first book was so much better. It's not a bad book, but it's not as good as the first book. And I think most people think that because looking at Goodreads, I think the average was like 3.7 stars.
Oh, okay.
And it seemed like a lot of people were disappointed with this book. So it's good, but it's nowhere near the first book. I really love the first book. You're going to get more of the same, just not as good. And I felt like the battles in the first book were much more epic and enjoyable. Like one of the puzzles, because the books are very similar, so there's going to be puzzle elements. And one of the puzzles I had totally solved because my knowledge base on that particular thing is pretty in depth. So I was like, okay, I know what's going to happen next in the story. Oh, I know what's going to happen after this because I already knew what solution was to their problem because I already knew the material. So it's once you read it, I'll explain that to you.
Okay.
Because I don't want to spoil anything for you.
Okay.
But once you read it and I explain it to you, I think it'll make more sense. But yeah, I didn't really like the pacing. And I gave it 3 stars. That doesn't mean I didn't like it. It just means I didn't think it was great or awesome. It was likable, but it wasn't a 4 or 5 star. Where I was like, oh wow, this is good, and oh wow, this was really fucking awesome. I think I gave the first book 5 stars, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. I think I might have given it 4, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so it went from a 5 to a 3. I was like, yeah, this doesn't warrant a 4. I felt there were too many problems for it to be. And, the first book had some woke-ish parts.
Especially the movie, man.
The movie?
Yeah, the movie more so, I think.
Was woke-ish?
Well, in the Wait, was that the same in the book? I don't remember whether they made it the same in the book or the movie. Like I remember in the movie they made the person that's like the main character's sidekick.
She in both the movie and the book she was a black lesbian.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Actually, I don't remember if she was a lesbian in the movie. Actually,
Oh, okay.
I don't remember if they brought up that she was a lesbian in the movie. I know for sure she was in the book.
Okay.
Well, you'll see what I mean, man. You'll see what I liked some of the puzzles. One of the puzzles were really fun, but I just thought the pacing wasn't good.
Okay.
I wasn't a fan of the pacing. Like it got to be where I lost track of which puzzle. Like the thing is, in both books, there's a set amount of puzzles that they give, right? In the first book, there's 6 because they have to get the key, and then they have to find the door. And there's 3 keys, 3 doors. In the next book, there's also a set amount. Problem is, it's like the pacing is so bad, I forget which one they're on. Because they go in a sequence. I was like, are they on the 3rd or are they on the 4th? I kind of forgot. And if I were to actually explain to you what the puzzles were right now, I could probably remember 4 or 5 of them. And there's more than 4 or 5 puzzles. And I remember all of the ones from the book.
Okay.
And I read the book over a year ago. So, it's not as good. I'm just going to tell you that. It's worth checking out, but it's not as good as the first book. And then right now I'm reading the Obama book, his new book, whatever it's called. I forgot what it's called.
Legacy or something like that?
It's a memoir one, isn't it?
Memoir?
No, it's called...
that's a creative title.
No, that's not what it's called. What the hell is it called?
I'm going to look that up.
I think it's it has like a pretentious title or something. I don't remember. Let me take a look.
Promised Land.
There you go. I know it was some type of pretentious title.
Hope and change.
Yeah, it's decent. Like, he's a good writer.
I liked the one book of his that I read that came out. I think it was before he was president, called The Audacity of Hope. I thought that his writing was good in that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So this book. What I like about this book is not really a political book. So he's not espousing political ideology or anything like that. He's mostly just talking about his life, mainly. Because I know Audacity of Hope is definitely about his political ideology and him explaining himself politically. Mm-hmm. This is a memoir, so yes, you're going to hear some political ideology, but it's more of like a historical account of like the major moments of his life.
Oh, okay. That's good to know, because all I know about it so far is like the quotes that I've heard. I'm pretty sure the quotes that I've heard progressives read and make fun of about how he wasn't taking responsibility for the bad things that he did while he was president, and he was blaming Trump for things or something like that.
Well, I haven't gotten all the way through it, so I'm like maybe 10% in. He definitely talks about like his pitfalls and things like that. But like I said, I haven't finished it. I'm not that far into it. So
okay.
Like I think where I'm at now, he hasn't even been elected president yet. So he's still okay. Yeah, I think right now he's just talking about how the McCain, his campaign, and what's her name? I forget her name. The crazy lady from Alaska.
Oh, Sarah Palin?
Sarah Palin, yeah, he's talking about Sarah Palin. And he's not being like super hard on her. He's like,
why would you read books?
Did she say that?
No, probably not.
But yeah, it's kind of like any of you read Becoming?
No.
It's like in the same
Oh
vein.
yeah, the Michelle Obama's book. No, I don't think I did read that.
Yeah, it's like in the same vein. So he talks about like the his struggles with his marriage and other stuff like that. So it's
Or
quite
so.
long for a memoir. It's like 21 hours, which
Oh,
none
wow.
of his other books are anywhere near that length.
Oh,
So
okay.
um,
Audacity of Hope is relatively long.
I don't remember it being that long.
I
How
read it
long
as a
was that?
physical book and I remember it. I'm going to look up the length of it
How many
because
pages is it?
Audacity of Hope.
Well, it's not very long.
It's 21 hours. That's like Miss Foreign Book 1.
Oh, yeah, 362. Never mind.
So,
It's not that
yeah,
long. Yeah.
yeah. So how long is this new one?
He's looking for a short one.
Promise.
It's very short.
Yeah, it's longer. I know that for sure.
Andrew,
You find it?
I'm just looking up the page count here. Let me
Okay.
see. Oh, 957?
Told you it's a long ass
Holy
book.
shit.
So it's pretty long.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a post-mortem about his life. I guess he started the book when he was in college. And there's a
Wow.
little bit pre-college, just a very tad small amount about his pre-college life.
He started a memoir when he was in college. How pretentious is that?
No, I'm not saying he started the memoir. I'm saying
Oh, that's when the
the
story starts.
timeline. Well, the
Oh, okay.
timeline does
Okay.
start when he's a kid, but it very lightly touches on that.
Okay.
And then he basically, when he was a kid, he read a lot. Like he read a lot. He read a shitload of books when he was a child. I think.
Oh yeah, that's one of the things that that I saw. I think I saw Kyle Kalinske and maybe a few other progressives making fun of was that he was reading Marx and
Foucault.
Foucault to get with girls.
Yeah, like I don't think I remember Kyle saying that was pathetic, but I'm thinking like, yeah, I've gotten the subjects I really didn't care about just because a girl was interested in them, and I
That's
can't say
why I
that
watched the fucking Twilight movie, man.
because a girl was interested in it. Yeah,
Yeah, a girl fucking deceived me into watching it, man. She said, "No, it's like really action-packed, exciting vampire movie." Then the whole time I was like, "Bite her! Bite her! Bite her! Stop being a vegetarian! Bite her! What the fuck, man?"
yeah. But yeah, it's all right. Like I'm enjoying it. Of course, it's narrated by Obeezy himself. So, and
Obese.
yeah, I enjoy his voice, his vocal timbre. So he's a good narrator,
Yeah, he
especially
does.
with his own
He is a
stuff.
good speaker.
Yeah, he's a good speaker. And it's funny because there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's definitely curse words in it. And I always love when Obama's cursing. And I love when he does like character voices of other people. That's funny.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's worth checking out. If Trudeau made a memoir, would you read it?
I think he has. I don't think I mean, I haven't read it though. I'm not sure if it's a memoir though, but he wrote a book a year or two ago that I haven't read. Have you read it, Chris?
No, and he's still like, what is he, 30 or something, 35? He's
I
still,
think he's like,
still
I
a
think he's in
baby,
his
so
40s. He looks older when he grows a beard.
yeah, if he does have a memoir or if one's coming, I would read it. I'd probably just wait until he's actually we get the whole story. Who knows how?
Wait till he's out of office.
Wait till he's out of office or something like that.
Well, what happens to when a PM is done? Do they go like take some other office, or they just retire forever?
Yeah, they just pretty much retire.
So he's going to be done soon. Do you guys have term limits?
I don't
No.
think so.
You
No,
guys don't have term limits?
no.
No,
Like
Stephen-
Jean Chrétien, who was the prime minister when I was a kid, he was the prime minister for a long fucking time.
Oh, and I think Harper hasn't beat, bro. With like Harper was in office for like 9 years, I think.
Was he?
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna look it up. I'm wondering.
Well, how long are your terms?
Oh yeah, Jean Chrétien was prime minister for 10 years from 1993 to 2003.
So you guys can have like, so he can be around for a long ass time then.
He
Yeah,
could.
he could be. Yeah, he could be. I don't think he'll. I don't know.
I doubt he will though.
The problem is nobody else has stepped up as a decent opposition. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, Stephen Harper was prime minister from 2006 to 2015, right before Trudeau, obviously, right? So 9 years. Yeah, you were right.
yeah, 9 years. So
Yeah, if you're a good president, you get 8. That's it. If you're a poor one, you get 4.
I guess I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the what our long.
What's the term length?
Sorry?
What's your term length?
I'm not sure. I don't think it's like 4 years like it is in the States. I think it works differently. Like the prime minister can call an election for a variety of different reasons, if I remember correctly.
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So they couldn't call an election for themselves?
Yeah, they
Why would
could.
they want? Why would they want to?
I'm not really sure, but I mean,
It's like
it happens.
there's a minimum term of like 2 years. So if Trudeau calls election right now, he's good for another 2 years, or the whatever you would call your electoral college, which is our parliamentary college, I guess you would say, doesn't convene for 2 years to decide something like that.
So what if he doesn't call it? What happens if he just like doesn't call anything and just sits there?
Well, eventually the parliament will call an election and force him to do it. So he does have to call and make an election eventually. He can't go. It's not like he's a king or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 years. It's not 4 though. But
Not 4.
I thought it was 2.
I'm pretty wasn't Trudeau's like the second federal election during that Trudeau one, wasn't that less than 4 years after the first time he got elected?
I can't remember. I know the last one wasn't that long ago. It was probably only a year ago or something.
Yeah, because the first one was in
he
2015, right?
He ended up winning, but with like no majority, or he didn't. He had a minority government or whatever, because he won the election, but everything else provincially lined up so that he was like more conservatives in the House.
Right.
So,
Is Trudeau from French land or is he some other province?
yeah, he's from Quebec, so he's the son of Pierre Trudeau, our prime minister during the 60s.
Oh, Justin Trudeau actually was reelected 4 years later. He was just reelected last year.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
So, because I thought people from regular Canada didn't like the people from French Canada.
I think that's a generalization.
So it's not true.
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
It
Like
happens.
people in Quebec, they vote only one party, the Bloc Québécois. Like you would never get anybody there voting NDP.
And
they never get elected federally because they support Quebec and like their other provinces.
Yeah, but they're very like, I don't want to say conservative, but definitely more right.
They kind of are in in some ways.
Yeah.
The French land?
Yeah, Frenchman.
Okay.
Wasn't oh wait, no. I was confusing them with the People's Party of Canada for a minute, which is funny because it's the People's Party of Canada here is like the far right-wing party, and it's like the far left-wing party in the States.
Maxime Bernier's party. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that party.
People's
it's
Party
pretty
of
much-
Canada in the States?
No, well, the People's Party in the States, not the People's Party of Canada.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the People's Party.
Well, like I saw like Jimmy Dore interviewing people for the People's Party, and they're like a pretty far left party, I would say.
Socialist Party, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like it would be a socialist party.
Yeah, which is why it's kind of ironic that the far right-wing party here is the People's Party.
Oh, I think one of my favorite parties that was running had such a stupid name, and I can't even remember it. It's called like the Fat White Man Party. Or I don't remember.
Seriously?
No, I forgot what it's called. There were so many different parties running this election, and one of them was like the Fat Dead White People or something like that. I don't remember, man. But I was like, what? How can you name a party like this? But it was like, I forgot. If I remember or if I find it, I'll show it to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't dead.
the Kanye West party is pretty crazy, if you ask
Oh
me.
yeah.
What was it? Like his producer or something was his vice president or something?
Was it really?
Oh really?
No, it's like spiritual advisor or something like that. I don't remember.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It was somebody that Kanye employs was his vice president.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know.
That's jokes.
I think
Did he
that's
get
all.
like 60,000 votes or something like that?
Yeah, it's pretty small.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the third parties got less votes this year than in 2016.
Yeah.
So I know the Libertarian Party in 2016 got 3 million plus votes. And this year they got like 1.7, I think.
Yeah, Gary Johnson got way more than Joe Jorgensen.
Yeah. I don't know if it was because he was a clown or whatever. It's one of the only things I remember about Gary Johnson is
maybe it's because like libertarians don't like the a little bit of the woke virtue signaling that Joe Jorgensen was doing.
Yeah,
she was woke. She was virtue signaling.
Yeah, she did like something. She tweeted something about how we can't just be passively against racism; we must be actively anti-racist.
That's not a very libertarian thing to say.
No.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
Dave Smith, the only libertarian I kind of semi-listened to, was complaining about her.
Yeah, I saw that.
Her
I saw that
involvement
too.
with Black Lives Matter or something like that. He wasn't a fan of.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
Or maybe she's trying to get black people into libertarianism.
Yeah, she probably was. That's probably.
Do you think most black people are into the wokeness though?
Well, libertarianism is not anti-woke. It's just
True.
what is it? Like social libertarianism is very similar to, left-wing practices.
There are left-wing libertarians for sure. They're like the left-wing libertarian, the left-leaning libertarians and right-leaning libertarians are always like mad at each other.
Well, libertarianism is small government across the board. Left-wing is small government socially. Right-wing is small government fiscally.
Yeah.
Because right-wingers love to use the government to clamp down on like social shit. Left-wingers like to be free, but they also want the government to assist in a lot of areas. And libertarians don't want the government to assist in either area, social or fiscal.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was just probably trying to get more black voters. I guess that's what she was trying to do.
Doesn't
Yeah,
seem like it worked.
Well, it hasn't worked for
Yeah.
the entire existence of the Libertarian Party. Nothing has worked for them.
Yeah.
True.
They might as
True.
well try anything at this point, and she probably just took a shot and missed, right?
Yeah.
So
Because even when Gary Johnson was the governor, he wasn't a Libertarian. He was voted in governor as a Republican.
Hmm.
So
I wonder why he got so many more votes than Joe Jorgensen, because you
Gary
probably
Johnson was on Rogan. I don't remember Jorgensen ever going on Rogan.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
but the same kind of thing. I think people were forced with like two bad, candidates, and you didn't want to go Hillary and you didn't want to go Trump, so you went with, the Libertarian vote.
Mm-hmm.
I think people hated Trump so much this election that you probably had Libertarians voting against Trump.
Yeah, for sure.
I bet that happened.
Well,
could see
the
that.
fucking turnout was insane. So I think Trump got all these people to come out. I don't think people were really enthusiastic to come out for Biden. Trump created his opposition as well as his supporters. Just so happens that he created more opposition than supporters.
Yeah, probably.
So I don't think people were all that excited. Oh, Biden, yeah, 78-year-old man, yeah. People weren't like going to Biden rallies or anything like that. It's just that's how much people hate Trump over here.
For sure.
Yeah, the mainstream corporate news struggled to find like the 5 diehard Biden supporters that exist.
And he only has like 14 million Twitter followers versus Trump's 85 million. So
Wow.
and he got Biden got what, 90 million or something like that votes?
I guess now. I don't know how much it is now. I know at the end of the election, it had like 78 million. So,
and Trump is still saying that he won, even though he lost by like 20 million votes.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. Yeah.
But the popular vote doesn't matter. It's all electoral college, right? So
yeah, it doesn't matter much. Not right now. No. People just get upset when the non-popular gets voted in. Like last year, Trump did not win the popular vote.
Yeah, that's right.
And actually, for the last few elections where a conservative has won, they had not won the popular vote. Because George W., I don't believe, won the popular vote in the second term.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
And he definitely didn't win it when he was going up against Al Gore. I don't know, it was Al Gore 2000?
I think so.
Yeah, so he had never won the popular vote, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe regular George Bush won the popular vote. But yeah, it's getting harder. That's why we're not going to see any changes in the only time we're going to see a shoot for popular votes is if Texas turns blue. Then Republicans are going to think about wanting to get rid of the Electoral College. And then the Democrats are going to fight hard to keep it.
That's funny. They'll reverse again.
Yeah. And I believe Texas will eventually turn blue. But most places with very large metropolitan cities, or even multiple large metropolitan cities, are going to turn blue eventually. That's just how shit works, I guess.
It does tend to happen.
Yeah, and you're getting a lot of people leaving California to go like to Austin and stuff. Rogan being one example, but I bet you there's other people going to Houston and other.
Yeah, Austin, Dallas, Houston, and because there's a lot of tech. So anywhere where tech becomes a big industry, it's going to start to turn that state blue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that already happened a while ago with Austin, Texas, right?
Yeah, us in Texas is blue as you can get. So anyway, I guess we're done for the night. Let me go ahead. You want to go ahead and do your outro?
Me?
Your plugs and whatnot.
Sure. Yeah, if people want to, they can check out my YouTube channel, Mindgasms, and tomorrow Dusty and Tristram and I are going to talk about whether bad guys can be heroes and some specific examples of some sort of morally gray kind of anti-heroes. They're all fantasy examples that we're going to discuss. And yeah, I just did an episode the other day with Chris about the whole Jeffrey Epstein story and how there have been some recent updates about that. Do all kinds of other videos, other short videos about ideas, and we do lots of book and movie chats, and we got more coming up. And a week from tomorrow, Dusty, Chris, Shizan, and I are going to talk about Snowpiercer, the movie directed by the guy who directed Parasite, which is also about class struggle, and it's actually a post-apocalyptic sort of semi-science fiction / speculative fiction movie. So that'll be interesting to discuss.
One
And
thing I'm going to say, Andrew, is did you know that there's a Snowpiercer series?
I did. I haven't seen it yet. I know it's on Netflix though.
Oh, it's on Netflix?
At least at least it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw a commercial for the series. I was like, huh? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Different from the movie that we're talking about, obviously. That's the one that's got Captain America in it. Chris Evans? Yeah. But yeah, anyway, people can also check out my blog if they want to, which is at mindgasms.bplifetime.com, where I publish chapters of my novel that I'm working on and short stories and poems, and also blogs about ideas like history, philosophy, science, culture, politics, etc. And people can give me money on my Patreon page, which is at Mindgasms as well if they want to, which I always greatly appreciate. And people can check me out on social media on Instagram and Twitter. I'm at Andrew Mindgasms, and on Facebook I'm Andrew Meitzer. Meintzer is the Canadian spelling of my German last name. Yeah, and yeah, that's it.
All right, Chris, you got any plugs?
I don't have any real plugs. Yeah, thanks for listening. I'm not really on any kind of social media. I kind of left there this year. I'm still on. I still have accounts, but I don't really post that much anymore. So, but yeah, you can find me on Mindgasms from time to time on various topics, and yeah.
And I'm sure you'll be on Dusty's channel sometimes again as well.
Yeah, I play in a band called Partners in Health. You could check us out on YouTube. Yeah, anyway.
Cool.
Sorry about that.
You get kicked out there, Dusty?
Yeah, momentarily. I did read the subtitle, so I did get to see what you said. Because I have another screen here with the feed running through it. Cool, man. I was going to say also, because I know you love Grimdark, Andrew, I actually consider this show that I've been watching to be superhero Grimdark. And I would say you should check it out. It's called The Boys.
Oh yeah, you told me about it. Yeah, I had heard about it from Daniel Green too, but I haven't watched it yet. But it does sound like a really good show.
If Grimdark was also in the superhero genre, I would probably consider that Grimdark. Because the protagonists are morally gray as hell, and some of the heroes are good, some of them are fucking evil. So it's an interesting take Probably the most refreshing take I've seen this year on the superhero genre. So I'd say check it out. I know it's been out for 2 seasons. It just has taken me a while to check it out, but I'd say you'd probably enjoy it.
Cool. Yep, that
Um,
is on my long list of shows that I want to check out.
all right. So I know that we were shooting, I guess, for next week. Did you check out any of the Blood of Zeus yet?
Yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes, so I'll have that finished by next week and we can talk about it.
Okay, great. Um, so yeah, that's what we'll be talking about next week. It is the Blood of Zeus. It is animated by the same series as the people who worked on Castlevania. It has a different set of writers. The writers are actually Greek, so it's pretty interesting to have some Greek writers write about Greek mythology.
Oh, I
And
didn't know that. Interesting.
yeah, if you take a look at their names, they totally have Greek names. The writers of the, if you take a look at the credits. Um, yeah, it's a show about it's not a mainline story. It's a made up story within Greek mythology that has it incorporates all of, not all, but many of the popular Greek deities that you've heard of: Zeus, Hera, Hades, and Hermes, and all those other. It's funny because when I think about it, it's almost like a superhero movie, as you
It
have all
is.
these super powered gods and stuff, and then they're fighting. So it's almost like the superhero genre stems from these stories in a way.
They kind of do in a way if you think about it.
Yeah, because they all have different powers, right?
Mm,
And they fight together against like giants and stuff.
yeah.
Go away again.
You still there?
Huh. That's weird.
Oh, we lose Dusty again? Okay. Well, hopefully it comes back in a minute.
Yeah.
We're pretty much done there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, I'm gonna peace out. I gotta go to the bathroom anyway. So, but I'll talk to you next week on Snowpiercer.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
right.
there you go.
Later, guys.
Yeah.
Later.
See you, man. Have a good night.
All right, but yeah, next week we're going to talk about the Blood of Zeus. Be prepared. I think you'll love it. What do you think of it so far?
Yeah, I like it so far. It's a really interesting concept with interesting characters, and I love all the like god and demon battles and stuff like that. Pretty cool.
Yeah, so it definitely starts off with like some demon battles, and of course, it's pretty bloody. That's how
Oh
those
yeah,
people
I
roll.
just remembered too. I forgot to tell you. Have you heard of those movies called Pacific Rim?
Yes,
Have you seen those?
yes, I've seen both of them.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I just watched the second one recently. I watched the first one when it was in theaters years ago. I think
Hmm.
like the plot and characters and acting aren't that great, but I just love the giant monsters fighting giant robots. It's
Oh
so
yeah,
awesome.
that's awesome. It's great. I definitely like the first movie better.
Yeah, me too.
The second movie, while the action's great, I don't know. I just liked the characters. It was like more grim in the second. Well, it was grim with some comedic elements, I guess, surrounding like the weird scientist guy and whatnot. He comes back again, but I guess the second movie, I just didn't like the heroes. So it was just like the veteran guy and then a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
Um, well, anyway, they're both fun movies for sure. They're
Yeah.
fun to watch, and like
Yeah.
the kaiju in the second one is just friggin' gigantic.
Yeah.
the
Definitely.
one that they fight at the end.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, I guess I like the first one because Idris Elba's in it. Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a
I don't
much
know.
better actor than anyone who's in the second one.
Yeah, that's for sure. And wasn't the guy wait the main guy from the first one? He's like Clint Eastwood's son, right, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, it's Clint Eastwood's son, and then like a Japanese lady, and then they have a couple other different like robots that are interesting. But yeah, Pacific Rim's definitely a fun movie.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, the Blood of Zeus. That's what we'll be talking about next week. Same woke time, same woke channel. Please like and subscribe, share, and do everything else. I'm still working on that damn archive. There's so many episodes. I haven't even started to post them over here. I will eventually, as I'm trying to get more content over here.
Cool.
Trying to also possibly make clips and stuff.
Yeah, it's a
So
good idea.
I'll try to work on that as well. I gotta find the time to do it. It's gonna likely be. I just have to find the scheduling for myself and the time, and kind of have a workflow for myself to do all of that stuff.
Right.
But join us next week. Blood of Zeus. I'm really excited. I really, really enjoyed this series. And I hope you will too, Andrew. And then we'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right. So, everybody, you take it easy. Like and subscribe. Share with your buds. Woke out.
All right. Adios. Until next time, everyone.
All right. Later. It would have been great if I was actually prepared to press the button. But I completely am lacking here. And let me go ahead and press the button.